NFL tonight. So get ready. I mean, get ready. Are you ready? That's football. On Monday night is ready.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 2013 edition of the Israel Sports Radio Fantasy Football Draft. The draft officially begins in 9 minutes. We're very, very excited. A lot of trash talking, a lot of pride is on the line. And I want to start the show off with Hank Williams because Hank Williams is a friend of Israel, in my opinion. He knew who Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu was 2 years ago in that rant on that morning show, and I don't think most Jews in the United States know who Bibi is. So I wanted to play Hank Williams. I'm joined by my good friend, in-studio guest co-host, Yes the Bus Friedman. Yes the Bus, how you doing?
I'm very good. I've been waiting all year to get back into the draft, the NFL fantasy football season. I've played fantasy in many other sports, though nothing as exciting or suspenseful as the NFL season. We have injuries and many other things that cause other things to happen, and I'm pretty excited for what's going to happen today in the draft.
There is an interesting concept with the NFL draft or fantasy draft with football, a lot of different domino effects. That one guy gets the top quarterback, it's going to affect the pick in the 5th round because that's the nature of football, that's the nature of drafting. How did you do last year, by the way, in this fantasy draft?
I thought I did okay. I don't particularly remember the league as much last year. I'm going to look back on that in a minute and see how well I did overall. But I think I learned a lot over the year about how to draft because you see how guys, in the top rounds, you really need good players, but then you realize that later in the draft, it's not enough just to get good guys because then in your bye week, you could just fall apart,
Interesting also.
You need a well-balanced team, I'm saying.
Yeah, you need a well-balanced. I mean, even the kicker matters. Everything counts in this. And we are now 7 minutes away from draft officially beginning. Here are the teams involved. Yossi G gets the first pick of the draft this year. Very happy about that. He was talking to me at Facebook chat, talk about last year. He got the last pick, so he's happy to get the first pick. Ariel's super team gets the second pick. Brian's best team gets the third. Yost the Bus's team gets the fourth. Winner, who is Andy Gershman, who's co-commissioner along with myself, he'll get the 5th pick. Jonah's Bull team gets the 6th pick, and yours truly gets the 7th. Philly football, which is Ari Bluestein, gets the 8th, and Aaron Krolik, who is the fantasy football expert from last year, will get the 9th pick, and then Effie's winning team gets the 10th pick. Effie is in Israel. He'll be playing football. He'll be playing for the Judean Rebels this season, so it's fun to have Effie aboard. And now a big news story that happened this morning, Tim Tebow was cut by the Patriots. I don't know if that really matters. I don't think Tim Tebow is going to be drafted in this draft, right?
I think he was too risky of a pick either way. At the most, he would have been used as a wildcat option, and you can't base a draft on that, and you really don't have room on a team for a guy like that, especially in fantasy.
It's hard to spend a pick on a guy that you don't know if he's going to play most of the downs. So that, at this point,
I don't think it's even that. I mean, a guy in his position just isn't useful to you. He doesn't get enough playing time.
Right, and he's probably not going to get you a lot of points in any case. So if he was going to be picked, he probably certainly won't be picked now. If somebody really wants to pick him, obviously that's their decision. Now, this will be a very interactive show. Me and the Bus will be hosting throughout the draft, but people that are participating in the draft, we will get them on the line when we can. Obviously, very busy day Sunday, and it's a few days before Rosh Hashanah, so we're going to try to do what we can. But in any case, it's very exciting stuff. Football, the first game of the NFL season will be Thursday night, which, of course, is Rosh Hashanah, so we'll be able to watch it. But that will be between the Broncos. They're going to be hosting the defending champion Ravens. Any thoughts about that game before we continue with the draft? Yes, the Bus.
Yeah, but before I get into that, I just wanted to mention something about last year's league. That I remembered that you had the risky pick of drafting RG3.
That's right, and that paid out pretty good.
And I'm very well. I agree with you, but I'm wondering how many people are actually going to go out there and take a risk on rookies. Because last year we had some guys that were very successful, at the quarterback position in Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck, RG3, among others, whereas there are a lot of rookies that didn't pan out. I know that Alfred Morris is another person that I was very surprised with last year.
Alfred Morris, obviously, many people said he was more of the reason for the Redskins' success than even RG3, correct?
Yeah, definitely, because RG3 himself is an impressive specimen. The guy is like a Superman, but to be able to have that double run effect with the addition of Alfred Morris, who in a lot of drafts is one of the top 10 running backs, I think he really helped them out there.
Now, also keep in mind, I made a very, very dangerous pick 2 years ago that's pretty dumb. I took a wide receiver. It was Larry Fitzgerald, it was a homer pick. It was the third pick overall. And usually in the first round, your advice, even though you're going to be giving advice to people going against you, but your advice is to go with the running back.
I definitely think in the first round you're going to go – I'm not going to for sure say running back. If you have a shot at a quarterback that's going to be throwing 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns or something like that, then you might want to go with that type of guy, especially if you're in a league with a lot of players and you won't be able to get one of the top running backs. But generally, yes, so the running back is the position that you start off with, and you usually draft a running back and a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. If you have a shot at getting a guy like Drew Brees, perhaps, maybe it would be worth it to draft him early just because that guy is probably going to get around 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, I think.
A very hilarious joke was made in the Facebook chat of this group. I'll have to bring that on later, just kind of a lot of details. But again, we're going to try to get everybody on the line who's involved with this great draft and get as many people possible. 10 teams overall. And we certainly know that it's going to be very competitive. There isn't really a prize, whoever wins this fantasy draft. It's just kind of bragging rights, which is really better than any prize pretty much out there, more or less. Bragging rights is important, right, boss?
Definitely, bragging rights is above all else. And for people that, whether they know this or not, inside, if you're drafting live with us, there is a chat screen, and we'd be love to see the comments that people make. Last year we had a lot of back and forth in the chat section, so it would be very entertaining to see what you guys have to say, and maybe we'll mention it on air.
Especially when I drafted RG3. I mean, that went back and forth for like rounds and rounds, bringing that my risky pick. And that was very proud of. I mean, when he started, I had a piece of that. It felt like when he did good, felt like I did good. So I was kind of living through RG3. So that was certainly a lot of fun. If you are listening to us on justin.tv/Israel Sports Radio, DOTCOM, you can also check out our website, IsraelSportsRadio.com. My interview with Pete Rose is up on the right side of the page. And yes, it is over a year ago, but it's worth listening to again. 16 minutes long, so go ahead and check that out. We're about to get underway. We have about 1 more minute. Talk about the concept of drafting defensively, because usually like to get a defensive team, and the way they score points obviously is only on touchdowns, interception, or fumble recoveries for touchdowns. Why is that so important to get a good defensive team?
Well, with a lot of guys, the important part is if a team has a lot of sacks, a lot of interceptions, touchdowns, that could really help benefit your team. But from what I've experienced in fantasy football, although the defense is very important, if you get a top 5 defense, top 6 defense, it will definitely help you. But overall, if you do get lower in the defensive pool, it won't bother you as much. Like if you get the top guys, the top defenses, you're set. They're going to be good. But after that, they're pretty much all around the same area. None of them are more better than the others.
All right, so it's basically that top tier, like a lot of positions, really. After that, it really drops off. All right, we are 14 seconds away. I am goosebumped up to the core. Very, very exciting stuff. And Yossi G will be on the board in about 5 seconds. Hope everyone enjoys and has a good time. And we are set to go. Now, the consensus pick would be Adrian Peterson, but you never know, things will surprise or get kind of funny with the OCG. But you would go with Adrian here, I imagine. You go with AP, right? Reigning MVP?
Definitely go with Adrian Peterson, and this is just a man that is superhuman. The way he recovered from that injury and came back and had one of the best running back years to date was just unbelievably fantastic. That it came to a point where I think we were deciding between whether he should maybe get both the comeback player of the year and MVP.
Do you think it's possible he took something a little unkosher? I mean, we've never seen anything done like that in sports history.
Well, if you don't know me, this is going to blow your mind. I am 100% in favor of steroids. I grew up during the steroids era. Right. It was one of the most exciting times in the history of baseball. And I don't know how Bud Selig is viewed on this show or on this network, but I think he's just trying to cover his own butt by cleaning up the steroids thing before he retires next year. I know that he was the one that definitely made the most money out of this whole steroids thing, and now he's just trying to secure his legacy. So I am in favor of steroids. I loved steroids. And yes, Alex Rodriguez is my favorite player in the Major League Baseball.
I love it. But can't people get sick from that? That's what I'm worried about if they take steroids. Are there clean steroids? How does all that stuff work? I don't know. Maybe that's for another time. Now, okay, wow, there were some picks made here. I was kind of asleep at the wheel. No, is this – where are we right? This is your pick now.
Yeah, this is my pick.
Okay.
So far there have been – a quarterback has already been drafted.
That was quick.
Out of all the quarterbacks, Colin Kaepernick was taken. I think that's a little risky.
All right, I am very confused. Where are the list of the picks? I don't see this right here.
Yeah, they show who.
Oh, okay. There we go. I'm sorry about that. All right, USCG selected Adrian Peterson, number 1 overall. Ariel Super Team is taking Colin Kaepernick, as mentioned. Brian's best team is taking Doug Martin. And Aaron's optimal team is just talking about Colin Kaepernick is too early, and he laughs at that pick. Now, you're on the clock now, Bus, and you got 35 seconds.
Yeah, I'm having trouble over here.
Are you not able to draft?
I think I'm going to go with Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, you're deciding. Okay. You got me nervous there. All right. So, everyone, by the way, is in the chat box on the right side in case you're like me and you're a little slow. You can see on the right side there. So, right now, the man who's on the clock is Andy Gershman, the co-commissioner, along with yours truly. So, we'll see who make a homer pick with going with the Patriots or a member of the Cowboys.
I think he's a little cocky there. I think his team says winner over there.
Yeah, that's the name of his team, is Winner. And both of Andy's sons are participating in the league as well. Jonah is one of his sons, as well as Ariel. So
we got to hope there's no collusion over there.
Well, yeah. Although I don't know about that if they do that because, the sons take this very seriously. And I think in fantasy basketball or the March Madness pool, I believe Andy's sons beat Andy, at least one of his sons. I know that. So they're not messing around there. About 30 seconds left. Andy's certainly thinking about this long and hard. This is very strange. Arian Foster is still on the board, correct?
I believe so.
I don't see how he slipped this far.
Arian Foster, 15 touchdowns last year, along with almost 1,500 yards.
Just overshadowed because AP had such a great year.
Yeah, but you look at the teams last year and the Texans and Arian Foster. It's
Calvin Johnson goes to Andy Gershman in the first round, usually early for a wide receiver. But if you're going to go with a wide receiver, that's the guy you want to go with, correct?
1 second here.
Okay. By the way, I'm on the clock right now. About a minute left. I know who I'm picking. I just got to find him.
Let's just hope that the person that you pick and choose will do as well as you hope he will.
Well, I'm going with Arian Foster. Where the heck is he?
He was just drafted, by the way.
Oh, all right. Arian Foster. Oh, Jonah got me. Oh, darn it. Jonah snuck in right there, got Arian Foster. Can't really blame him for that. All right. No, I'm not picking RG3, at least not in the first round. All right. Well, let's see here. A lot of people would say go with the running back. Wow, should I do this? All right, I'm going to do – you know what? I've seen this. Fine, let's do it. I'm going to go with Alfred Morris.
Oh, man. I really wanted that dude.
Well, of course, yeah. Now, Alfred Morris, I think, he had a great year last year. He had over 1,600 yards last year, and I think he will have – I don't know if he'll have a better year. They might catch on to him. The defenses might adapt, but I think we'll have a good year. Quick pick from – Ari Bluestein, Philly football. LaShawn McCoy, what a shock from the Eagles. So Ari Bluestein goes with the homer pick. And just like that, Aaron Krolik has selected Trent Richardson out of Cleveland. That's kind of early for Trent Richardson, but Aaron knows his stuff. What are your thoughts, Bus?
I wish him good luck with that.
All right. We're going to, when we can, we'll try to get some of these people on and have them explain their picks. Effie's winning team has selected C.J. Spiller out of Buffalo. What the hell is that about? And Effie gets we're in the second round now. Effie will get the first pick. He's taking Ray Rossi to Baltimore. That one I like. And Aaron is selected Des Bryant out of Dallas.
For those paying attention, we have entered the second round, and I hopefully football doesn't go too high with the Philadelphia picks, because I don't know if I would take my shots with Michael Vick this season.
Yeah, well, Michael Vick, this is probably on his last energy, last gas. I'm not expecting really anything from the Eagles this year. Yossi G thinks Foles should start, but they did come out and announce Michael Vick. All right, so a minute left, and Ari Bluestein takes A.J. Green out of Cincinnati.
And you're on the board.
Yeah, I'm on the board, and then after this pick, anyone who'd like to come on, we'll call and try to get, actually, let's do that after the second round. All right, I'm on the clock here. I could go with the homer pick. You know what? It might be too early for this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay. I think he's have a big year. I think he'll be the MVP this year. Aaron Rodgers is my pick. Jonah, quick pick, takes Houston. Jonah took a defense in the second round.
That is shocking to me.
Well, his name is Bold Team, and he made a bold move by selecting the Texans. I guess if you're going to take a defense, you might as well go with the Texans. And Yossi G has some colorful language for that pick. Andy Gershman on the clock now, the co-commissioner, along with yours truly. About a minute left here in the second round, and he takes RG3 in the second round. That's a bit of a homer pick, even though Andy likes the Cowboys. I think that some D.C. radio talk has gotten to Andy's head because RG3 is injury prone. I don't know if he'll play a full season. And you've selected Drew Brees. Now, that to me is the second-best quarterback in this draft, obviously outside of Aaron Rodgers. So
the man has had something like 5,000 yards for the last 3 seasons in a row, along with around 40 touchdowns. So I think it's a pretty safe pick.
Andy is saying patience to what? RG3 getting injured? RG3 might have a great 10 games. I don't know about a great 16. And Aaron chiming in again with the Houston defense. I think everyone's shocked by that pick, but who knows? Everyone was shocked by my pick last year of RG3. So you have a deep voice Brian Hoffman on the clock now, 50 seconds left here in round 2. Now, Aaron is asking if there's something that he doesn't know about the Houston D. Well, Aaron, you know what? We'll let it give you a chance to speak your mind. But I think after this round, we'll go to Andy Gershman and have him explain the RG3 pick and other bragging points he probably wants to make. What's more surprising right now to you? Yes, the most surprising thing, the defense going in the second round. Ray Rice. I mean, where would you go right now? Trent Richardson is probably pretty surprising to me.
I think any person that believes in the running back that they've picked, they know something that we don't, and clearly that's why they picked the guy. You want a running back in the first round. You want to pick a running back or quarterback that you feel comfortable will get you the top points on your team. Trent Richardson has been listed in many leagues as a top 5 pick. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I did not know that.
But he has been listed as a top 5 running back pick, and I think it was a very good move, especially since there aren't many running backs left at the top of the mountain over there. And I think he's the type of guy that you could expect to be consistent for years to come, and I think this is going to be a huge year for him.
All right.
As for Houston defense, it's way too early to draft a defense.
All right, where are we in the draft right now? Ariel's super team is picking, and we are still in round 2. Almost
second
at the end.
To last pick.
Second to last pick. Then Yossi G will be on the clock. At the end of round 2, we'll go into round 3. So pretty exciting stuff here. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the 2013 edition of the Israel Sports Radio Fantasy Football Draft, hosted by yours truly, Ari Lewis, and co-hosted by, yes, the bus Friedman. And Ariel made a pick, and who was that?
Greg Jennings.
Greg Jennings out of Minnesota. And we're trying to get on the winner of last year's fantasy football, so hopefully he'll pick up the line. We're going to try to get him again. What'd you think of that pick there, Bus? Peyton Manning. The OCG's taking Peyton Manning at the end of the second round.
The OCG has back-to-back picks. He got Demaryius Thomas.
2 Denver guys. Wow. All right. Well, that kind of pumped me up, going with old Peyton Manning. All right, on the line right now, the defending champion of the Israel Sports Radio Fantasy League, Andy Kamish Gershman. Andy, how you doing out there?
Doing well.
All right. You want to explain that RG3
quite
pick?
a draft room going on in here. We've got 3 laptops open. Crazy picks coming from my children, but, you know.
Yeah, what's with the defense? Did Jonah explain that one, taking the defense in the second round?
Let me tell you, kid genius. You don't ever mess with his picks. He's on a whole other level when it comes to fantasy football.
Who beat you in March Madness? Was that Jonah or Ariel?
That would be Ariel.
Okay, all right. So maybe Jonah's got the football and Ariel's got the basketball.
But I'm going to ask you, do you know who beat me in fantasy football last year? Nobody.
Oh,
That's
Jesus.
right.
So you
when
predict?
I take RG3,
Yeah. Tell us about
don't
that.
you worry about my picks.
Well, tell us something that we don't know. You think he's going to play a full year?
It doesn't matter. I will amass enough wins and select a good enough backup quarterback.
Wow, that's pretty gutsy. There. Ariel only has 5 seconds left of the clock, and let's see, he's about to pick.
Ariel already drafted, I thought.
He just selected Russell Wilson. That's such a very nice pick. I like that. Bus, you like that pick?
That was going to be my pick for my next QB.
All right, so Wilson, good pick there from Ariel. All right, so, but I guess what I'm trying to Deep Voice Brian takes Roddy White Atlanta. Andy, you'd rather have RG3 than Peyton Manning or Drew Brees?
Who's Peyton Manning?
The almost MVP, second place last year.
To who?
To Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I've heard of him too. I tell you what, I'd rather Tony Romo than Peyton Manning.
What the? Yeah, I think you just do that to start out with us, to say shocking stuff. And Jamal Charles goes to Bus.
And I just took my tight end of the future, and I think that who the heck knows what's going to happen. The only thing I can say is this is a good time every year. It's a shame that Brian can't draft Ray Lewis. I think he probably is still looking. And I tell you what, I cannot decide whether to take Adi Hakami or Joe Flacco in the IFL draft.
Ouch. Wow.
So, those are decisions we all have to make. The good news for Brian is that no one from the Ravens has killed anybody this offseason. That only happened for the Patriots. So that was good for him.
Yeah. He'll be one-upping you about that for a while, I think. I took my man Larry Fitzgerald, by the way.
The other good thing is that baseball has officially ended in Baltimore, so now they can focus all their attention on the Ravens.
Wow. Andy with the sharp criticism there. Now, a couple of picks that occurred. Jonah is taking Victor Cruz from the Giants. I have taken Larry Fitzgerald, bit of a homer pick. And
just a little bit.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't know. I think Carson Palmer will have a decent year. The division's tough, obviously, but I think Larry will give me some points. And Ari Bluestein has taken Stephen Ridley out of New England. What do you think of that pick?
Yeah. Good pick.
Like that pick, okay.
Yes, the Bus, is he on this line?
Yes, he is. Go ahead, Yes, the Bus.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yes, how are you?
I'm great. How you doing?
You're doing great. Good. I was wondering, yes.
Yeah, what's going to happen? Yeah?
The suspense is killing me here.
All right, okay, we're all good. So, are there any wrestlers in this draft? I don't know. Anyway, all right, I have to go to work. I'm going to set to auto pick it after my next pick. And good luck to everyone. And I'm sorry you all are playing for second place.
Oh, wow, like Larry Bird. And ripping on wrestlers, too. The wrestlers guys are a lot stronger than any of these football players. All right, Eddie, have a good time at work. I am on the clock, so I got to focus here. Of course, I've drafted.
Ari Lewis and focus don't generally go in the same sentence, but we will take that for what it's worth.
I'm so talented, I don't need to focus in most things that what I do in my life. All right, Andy, on that one.
Right.
Have a good
Talk
one.
to you guys later.
All right, Andy Gershman, the commish. About a minute left for me.
We've had some picks here. Philly football has drafted Stephen Ridley. Aaron's optimal team, Matt Forte. Effie's winning team, David Wilson. And he had back-to-back picks. The second pick was Brandon Marshall, followed by Aaron's optimal team drafting Reggie Bush, and Philly football selecting Tom Brady. And I'm surprised Tom Brady went so late in this draft.
Actually, yeah, I figured Tom Brady would go pretty higher as well. By the way, Andy Gershon's birthday's coming up, and he's turning 54 years young, so congratulations to him on that. All right, I have 30 seconds coming up. Wow, this is a tough spot for me.
Yeah, about that, in the immortal words of wrestling manager Paul Heyman, Mazel Tov on your birthday.
Yeah, Mazel Tov there. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go with another Green Bay player. This could probably kill Yossi G. He probably wanted him. I'm going to take Jordy Nelson. I think both him and Aaron Rodgers are going to have a great year, and definitely a Super Bowl contender. While Jonah's on the clock, we're going to try to get another member of our fantasy football group to come in. And I think we'll go with we're going to try to get Deep Voice on the line. So hold on shortly there.
Well, we got a winner that's our reigning champion in the league, and he says we should not mess with his picks.
Yeah, I think he's going down.
But he's going on auto pick after this, so
it might cost him.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he.
Or you could get better picks. Maybe the computer will draft you even better than Andy did. But I still disagree with the idea of taking RG3. I think he was drinking some Washington Kool-Aid. I know that's weird for a Cowboys fan, but still.
Yeah, I mean, any guy that comes off an injury, you got to be careful with, and not everyone is Adrian Peterson. Not everyone can come off an injury and just go out there and have an MVP performance. Maurice Jones-Drew was picked by winner, and now I'm on the board. And yes, Yossi G is angry, saying, Ari Lewis, why did you take my boy Jordy?
You know I was good at Yossi G. On the line right now, as Justin Bus focuses on his pick, is Deep Voice Brian Hoffman, who's made some interesting picks in this draft. Deep Voice, welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen.
All right, so Andy did a little trash talk to you, the fact that you couldn't pick Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis killed people and all this kind of stuff. Your retort, your response to all of that.
Well, I put the question out there, is drafting, video spying equipment, permissible, at this point in the draft? I think, if it's, question is where do you have it on the board? What's more important to the Patriots this season, the spying or actually having a receiver that pans out?
Oh, wow. Or maybe someone doesn't go to jail in any case. Now,
well here's the thing. By the way, I just want to announce real quick, as this is so cool because this is like live during the draft, that and this is a 10-team league, so obviously, it's going to be quite an all-star team here. But what they call Brian's best team,
right?
Or it's soon going to, the name's going to be changed once I go in there. But I'm just warning everybody, a mistake was made. If you draft with me, you want to make sure that you get all the running quarterbacks off the board quick before I draft, because I just took my man Superman.
Cam Newton. Now, you waited to the fourth round to take a quarterback before you picked Julius Jones, Roddy White, and Doug Martin. Tell us about Doug Martin. Very surprised you went with him out of Tampa Bay.
This is my third draft, and I am proud to say that I had the opportunity here. I apologize, guys. My feed over the phone might not be coming in as good as it usually does.
No, you sound fine. You sound fine.
I'm on speaker. I'm actually doing the draft on the smartphone here. But I actually have been waiting 3 drafts to do what I wanted to do last season, in which before Wes Welker was on the Denver Broncos, I wanted to actually handcuff together Demaryius Thomas and Eric Decker. And so it was something that I regretted not doing. The two worked out rather well together last season. I like the strategy of handcuffing players together, and I have successfully done that this season in Atlanta with Julio Jones and Roddy White.
All right. So you're saying you made a defensive pick to keep other people from taking those players?
Not a defensive pick, but I've been doing this. This is a bit of a strategy on Deep Voice's part for several years. I've been handcuffing receivers because between Roddy White and Julio Jones, you're going to get about 15 points on average out of the two of them combined, unless there's a really, really, really bad game. I did that a few years back. Andy will be happy, with a couple of Cowboys back in like 08, 09, and it worked out because it guarantees the non-bust factor. I'm the kind of fantasy player that likes to put up a consistent high total every week versus having the kind of team that could have a high total.
All right, we just want to update everyone with a couple of picks. Now, Brian, as you mentioned, he took Cam Newton. Then Ariel took Frank Gore out of San Francisco. And Yossi G's taking Vernon Davis. Yossi G is on the clock as we're now into round 5 of the fantasy draft. Let's go to Yes the Bus. What do you think about Frank Gore being drafted at this point of the draft?
I don't think at this point there's really any surprises. We've gotten the top layer of picks out, and now we're sort of looking for that second running back or second receiver in order to pump up our already great teams that we've drafted so far. And I heard what the Deep Voice said about Cam Newton and running quarterbacks, but I hardly think he'll put up the numbers close to Drew Brees' 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns.
All right, Yossi G's taking Andre Johnson out of Houston. Deep Voice, your thoughts on that pick?
Andre Johnson, I think it's way, I mean, what round are we currently in?
5th round. That's a 5th-round pick.
The 5th-round pick, so what number overall, Andre Johnson?
Well, that means he was the 41st pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad this year for Andre Johnson. I mean, in the past, he would have been taken in the top 3 receivers. So the fact that he got him probably, what was that, maybe the 10th receiver taken off the board, that's a decent value pick for Andre Johnson, in my opinion, this year. It's kind of an Ozzie Newsome special, right player, right price. Never like to really reach up to grab a player.
All right, Yossi G appreciates your compliments and says thank you in the chat. You're on the clock right now, Deep Voice, here in round 5.
I am, and I'd like to get another running back if I could. There's some elite quarterbacks that are still left on the board. At this point, again, another Ozzie method here, best player available. I'm really, the thing is, I'm going to do a major handcuffing if my tight end is available, and he is, and I feel like tight ends will be taken soon. And I'm going to go for a major handcuff here in my league, and I like this because I know that between my man Tony G, Ronnie White, and Julio Jones, I'm looking at 20 points between the 3 of them, and for receivers, that's solidness week to week.
Tony Gonzalez was basically retired. Don't you think he's a little too old?
There's something about that Atlanta passing offense. He was close to retiring, but we all know, I mean, even in what was going to possibly be his last season last year, he was, I believe, the top scoring tight end. So I think he still has lots of fantasy points left in that tank.
All right, and yes, the bus is on the clock. Before Deep Voice's pick of Tony Gonzalez, it was Wes Welker going to Ariel Super Team, Wes Welker out of Denver. So the Gershman household picking actually, is that the first Denver pick for the Gershmans? It might be. I apologize about that. But in any case, Bus is on the clock right now, pick 4, round 5. Deep Voice, what do you think about some of these? I mean, who surprised you most that's still left on the board?
Well, what really surprises me the most is the Gershman household, because that household is like represented by like half the teams in professional sports.
Yeah, it's true. It's a pretty interesting situation. All right, so Bus, you went with Vincent Jackson out of Tampa Bay, and Andy's taking Steven Jackson out of Atlanta. Tell us about picking Vincent.
Well, I've also done a couple drafts this year, and I haven't gotten the great part of the draft. I've gotten a very good team, but not the greatest team I'd like to have. And one thing I've noticed, and one thing that I've heard most people say, is that if Andre Johnson is the next receiver drafted, you should be picking Vincent Jackson right after him, because once you get up to Andre Johnson territory, Vincent Jackson is the next best receiver out there.
Deep Voice, your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that?
I had V-Jax in a league last year that won me the championship. Very solid receiver. They've even, I think the Tampa Bay offense is going to even be improved. A year removed from Friedman having a pretty good chemistry there with Vincent Jackson last season. Had a very decent fantasy season, along with Mike Williams. Tyquan Underwood, I believe, is still there. Doug Martin, if he can be consistent all season. Look, Tampa Bay kind of scared Freeman a little bit. They went in the early rounds there, and they picked up a quarterback to kind of ruffle Josh Freeman's feathers. You know, it's funny. I see Freeman this year actually rated a lot lower in the draft than he was last year. A lot of people don't seem to have respect for Freeman, seem to have him on the outside of that top-tier quarterback, not top-tier quarterback list, but that list of, like, this year they're like what they call 12 quarterbacks that are pretty good guys to have in a 10 to 12 quarterback league. And Freeman's kind of on the outside of that thing, and this is his year to potentially shine. It's a contract year for him.
All right, I'm going to take a real risky pick. This is not going to be maybe considered so smart. I'm taking Ahmad Bradshaw. I think the Colts are going to have a good year, a very, very good year, make the postseason again. I think Andrew Luck will have even maybe not a better year, but he'll have a comparable year at least to last year. And so I took Ahmad Bradshaw. Obviously, there were a lot of running backs listed a lot higher. Eddie Lacy, DeMarco Murray, but something about Ahmad Bradshaw. That was my pick there. And Ari Blue says to the clock. Bust, your thought about my pick if you thought it was stupid or smart or whatever.
Well, you definitely had to fill in that
running back slot.
And with all the running backs that are left, Bradshaw is definitely one of the top guys in there. I mean, it's really hard to pick a running back this late because you're dealing with running backs that may get a lot of touchdowns and not a lot of yards, or get a nice amount of yards and not a lot of touchdowns. You don't really have a full running back in there.
All right, Deep Voice, we're going to let you go. We're going to try to get on a couple other people, but thanks for being on. Enjoy. Good luck to you. Good luck with the trash talking to Andy. Obviously, that's always fun.
Guys, thanks for having me on. All the best to everybody. I will rename my team to Deep Voice 47, as in Super Bowl 47. But
yeah,
thanks for having me on, guys, and have fun. Thanks for having us in the draft. Have a good one, guys.
All right, Deep Voice Brian Hoffman. Ari Blue sign on the clock right now. After Ari, it's yours truly. So if you're just joining us, this is pick 3 in round 6 of the 2013 Israel Sports Radio Fantasy Draft. And I'm hosting along with, the Bus Freeman here in studio in Jerusalem.
Yes. The one thing I'm interested to see, and I don't think we've seen it yet, is someone to go and draft a rookie. I don't think that has happened yet to this point in the draft, and you're on the board, Ari Lewis.
I am. So
after there's a whole bunch of picks here after Ari Lewis drafted Ahmad Bradshaw. We had Philly football drafting Dwayne Bowie. Aaron's optimal team went after the Randall Cobb. Effie's winning team had 2 picks. They went after the receiver Garcon and the quarterback Matt Ryan. I'm surprised he's still in the mix this late in the draft. Gronkowski was picked by Aaron Optimal's team, which was I believe was a very good pick. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens, seeing that I believe he's injured and he's going to be benched for quite a while. Hakeem Nicks picked by Philly football, and Ari Lewis went and picked Jermichael Finley. And it seems now at this point people are picking very fast. It seems they realize what is at the top of the game and that they don't have many options, so we're going really fast through this later round in the draft.
Well, look, I'm putting a lot of stock in Green Bay. I really am. Kind of putting all my eggs in the basket with Aaron Rodgers and Jermichael Finley. And I just think, I know unofficially I picked Seattle to go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to probably change to the Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to win the MVP this year. So, I have to get a tight end. I figured I might as well go the Packers because I'm saying that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a good year anyway. So that's why I went with Jermichael Finley there. And I have another Packers player as well. It's slipping my mind at the moment. I have Jordy Nelson as well, which is one of Yossi G's favorite players ever.
Well,
now,
I'm sitting here thinking about what I'm going to pick. My quarterback starter is set up. My 2 receivers and running backs are set up as well. And I'm at this point thinking, who am I going to pick? Because I think I want to pick a tight end. The problem is there aren't that many tight ends that are going to be getting me touchdowns. Mainly what is left is guys that are going to get me a decent amount of receiving yards. So I think I'm going to pick Jason Witten.
You know what? I thought about going with Jason Witten, but I don't know. I mean, Andy and the Cowboys and all that stuff. it would be weird for then me to have to root for the Cowboys. Almost personally, I didn't do it for that reason. Deep Voice on the clock right now, and we're going to get Ari Bluestein on here in just a moment. Deep Voice just made a pick. Tell us about that, Just the Bus.
Well, he picked Eddie Lacy out of Green Bay. And again, I tell you, there's a lot of guys here you can pick. I don't know who you would pick at this point because we're pretty much just rounding out your team because there's not a lot of rounds left in the draft. So it's not really a lot to say about the picks now, but I would not be surprised if we see some defenses getting picked right now. And as we see, Ariel's super team has selected the Seattle Seahawks defense.
Wow. All right. So the Gershman brothers picking 2 defenses before anybody else has picked a defense. And another pick has occurred. Before we get into that, on the line right now, Philadelphia insider for Lewis Live here in Nizzle Sports Radio, Ari Bluestein. Ari, how you doing out there?
I'm good. How are you, Ari?
All right. So let's talk about some of your picks. You made some interesting situations. If we can just get up Ari's team there, which is Philly football. And you went with a lot of Philadelphia guys. You went with, LaShawn McCoy. Not a lot. You only went with one, actually. But that was a gutsy pick. Tell us about that LaShawn McCoy running back.
Well, I think he's going to have a pretty good year in Chip Kelly's offense. He runs the read option, and I think Shady's going to get a lot of chances to run the ball and also catch the ball onto play-action passes. So I think he's going to have a good year. And, when I came down to the number 8 pick, I felt that it was good value. So I went with the hometown guy.
Well, I got to say that it's going to be harder to judge Eagles picks this year because of the fact that we have a change in regime in the coach position and probably a different format of playing on offense. So I guess it's your own opinion on what you think is going to happen, and everyone's entitled to it because I sure can't predict what Chip Kelly's going to do.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the case is. We were assuming that he's going to be running that read option and running the ball much more than Andy Reid ran the ball here in Philadelphia. And I think Shady McCoy is going to have a pretty good year. And, like I said, at number 8, I thought that it was good value to grab him. I had a couple other choices, but I felt like Shady was probably the best pick there.
All right, just to catch her up with some of the picks here. Again, I take Jermichael Finley in Green Bay. Jonah took Eric Decker out of Denver. Eddie Gershman taking Torrey Smith. Bus, you picked Jason Witten, who's talked about. Deep Voice Brian had Eddie Lacy. Ariel had Seattle, the defense. Yossi G took Darren McFadden, who I also talked about taking as well, but I don't think Oakland will have a good year. Yossi G then picked again, took the San Francisco defense. Ariel had Heath Miller. Deep Voice Brian, Darian Sproles.
Well, Philly football out there. You got Tom Brady pretty late in the draft. Were you surprised to see him still hanging around that late?
Yeah, I was. I got some running backs and receivers before that. I picked A.J. Green second and Stephen Ridley third. And, because of the wraparound, and I'm picking 8th, it would have been a while until I got to the next pick. And I saw Brady there, and I had to take him in order to get a pretty good quarterback. And he fell, but, there's some good quarterbacks that were picked above him. Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees will probably put up good numbers as well. But, I'm pretty happy with my quarterback selection there in the 4th round.
Well, I've seen there's been a lot of receivers picked very early in this draft, and that's something I haven't seen in previous drafts that I've participated in, that receivers have been drafted so high above running backs and quarterbacks.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird year because other than Adrian Peterson, who is certainly no sure thing, but he's probably the closest to it, there's a lot of debate about what running backs should be going in what order in the 1st round. And I think there's a lot of good receivers. When you look at guys like Calvin Johnson, the guy that I picked, A.J. Green, among others, that I think this could be the year of the wide receiver in fantasy football.
All right, I'm on the clock right now, and at this point I have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a quarterback. I could get some bench players in case one of my QBs goes down. So I'm going to be looking for a quarterback here, and I think just for fun, because you're on the line right now, why the heck not? I'm going to go with Michael Vick. Michael Vick will be my backup. 12 touchdowns, 10 receptions last year. Go ahead.
Well, I'm on the clock now, but I'll draft real quickly. But I'll tell you what, you better get Nick Foles to handcuff yourself there, buddy, because Vick is going to stay healthy.
You think so? Okay. So you don't think Vick was going to get a lot of playing time?
Well, I mean, he'll get a lot of playing time, but then he may be injured.
That's
he's
true.
only played a full season one time.
So my question for you is, what
Good
made
point.
you choose Greg Olsen at tight end?
I felt like he was the best available tight end, and I think Cam Newton's going to use him a lot. Steve Smith is getting older, and I think he's, it's a little bit lower on the tight end. I waited really late to get a tight end, but I think he'll have a good enough year. I'm not really all that big on the tight end in fantasy football, so that's why I waited real late to grab him.
So I guess you'd be surprised that Rob Gronkowski got drafted so early.
I mean, he's going to put up big numbers once he gets healthy, but the question is, when is he going to get healthy? So I'm not surprised that somebody took him early. This is my third draft now, and the first draft he went early, and the second draft he went really late. So it's all about a person's value as to when he's going to come back, and if it's going to be valuable to pick him, and I think that he'll have a good year.
All right, you took Andrew Luck. That's a great pick. Andrew Luck had a great season last year. Again, I took a member of the Colts because I thought Andrew Luck is going to have a good season. So tell us about that pick. I had Ahmad Bradshaw, the running back. So I'm hoping somewhat that Andrew Luck does have a good season this year.
Oh yeah, Andrew Luck. I mean, I think that's a really good value pick right there at the quarterback position. This late in the draft, I think he's going to put up good numbers. I don't know how good the Colts are actually going to be, but especially with that defense. But I think they're going to put up a lot of points, and that's a great pick this late in the draft.
Yeah. I was surprised that it took so long for a guy like Andrew Luck. Again, another team that didn't draft a quarterback until the 8th round, which is like beyond me. I just don't understand how you could wait so long to draft a quarterback, and how there are so many good quarterbacks still available, guys that can throw 5,000 yards and 20-plus touchdowns.
Yeah, well, quarterbacks are kind of a funny thing in fantasy football because you're going to have a lot of good quarterbacks that are going to put up decent numbers, and I think that some people will wait late, and some people. I think once you get past like the Rodgers, the Brees, and the Bradys, you can wait a little bit to get some of these middle of the road quarterbacks that still can give you some pretty good numbers.
So Aaron's Optimal got Andrew Luck, Effie's winning team back-to-back, Fred Davis.
All right, you're on the clock, by the way. 35 seconds to go.
Denver defense.
I know you guys are distracting me.
It's part of our plan. That's why we had you on at this part of the draft.
So we're gonna let Philly football pick, and I'm gonna ask Ari Lewis who he thinks he's gonna draft for defense. He's coming up next, and I wonder what your pick's gonna be next.
Well, I'll tell you, I screwed up drafting Michael Vick. That was really stupid. I'm sorry about that.
It was a revenge pick or something like that.
I was in the moment with talking to Ari Bluestein, and I want to go for it. So I'm going to make up for that pick right now. I think, yes, I'm going to take Eli Manning. I think Eli Manning will have a good year. He had almost 4,000 yards last year. He had 26 touchdowns. So I feel comfortable with him being my backup. Jonah right away takes Steve Smith out of Carolina. So Carolina getting Steve Smith. Ari Bluestein, what do you think of that pick?
Oh, crap. Matthew Stafford.
I think that I'm sorry, go ahead.
What do you think? Now, Jonah took Steve Smith, then Andy Gershman took Matthew Stafford. So what are your thoughts?
Well, Stafford's a good value pick this late in the draft. Steve Smith, I mean, who knows how much he has left in the tank. I mean, he's pretty good receiver. And, as I said earlier, I think Cam Newton's going to throw the ball a lot this year, and that's why I took Greg Olsen as my tight end. We'll see. I mean, they have some other weapons there, like Brandon LaFell, and we'll see how well Steve Smith holds up. I mean, he's been pretty reliable, but, the miles are certainly getting up there. But this late in the draft, like I said, good value. When you're starting to get to this point in the draft, you just got to try and get good value. And I apologize, guys. I'm going to have to get off the line now, but thank you for having me, and thank you for having me in the draft as usual.
Yeah, good luck to you this season, and we're going to keep posting on everyone's doing. So, Ari Bluestein, enjoy your Sunday. We will be in touch.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Philadelphia Insider Ari Bluestein here on Israel Sports Radio's 2013 Fantasy Draft. And what's kind of really stuck out for you so far? Yes, the bus. What's really been a surprise for you?
I've been surprised that Rob Gronkowski got drafted so early. That quarterbacks have been going so late. I am on the clock. I have 5 seconds, and I'm going to make my pick.
Just in time.
James Jones, because at this point in the draft, like I said about running backs earlier in the draft, we're at this point where you're going either big yardage or big touchdowns. And James Jones, although he only got around 800 yards last year, he did catch 14 touchdowns. So I'm going to go for the touchdown pick on that, even though I went on the high percentage of receiving yards before. But as I was saying before, Rob Gronkowski, he might be out for like the first half of the season. I mean, that pick was totally out of nowhere. It totally blew me away, and not in a good way. And I don't understand how you could do that. Quarterbacks are vital to a team. They get hundreds of points in most leagues to help your team move along. I don't know how people could sit here and only draft a quarterback in the 8th round. From what I could see, I'm going through all the teams right now, and everyone has drafted a quarterback at this point. So I'm hoping this will be a competitive league since we have some good quarterbacks up on the board here that have been drafted by teams.
On the line right now, the real sports rabbi, Yossi G. Yossi G, welcome to Israel Sports Radio's Fantasy Football Draft 2013 edition.
Thank you very much. What's going on?
All right, now you were upset that I took some of your Packer boys. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it's nothing more than just that. I was upset. I am still upset that you took some of my guys. You, as well as Bus, just took James Jones. Come on, that was my guy I had circled. What's wrong with you people?
I believe your advice to Ari was that he should start Eli Manning and use Michael Vick as a backup, I believe.
That's right.
What about starting Aaron Rodgers? Are you against that? Just because he's a Packer?
I'm totally not against that, but
Okay.
last I checked, you don't have.
I have Aaron Rodgers. That was my first quarterback I took.
He has three quarterbacks.
Yeah, I took
So
three.
why do you have Vic? For trade fodder?
I don't know what I was thinking, man. I've had the coffee's too strong. I don't know. You just took Deshaun Jackson out of Philadelphia. Tell us about that pick, Yossi G.
Yeah, well, he's the number one wide receiver in Philly. So you got to go with a team's number one wideout, even if
The team sucks.
Quarterbacks are Nick Foles, as what's going to be the starter probably by week 5, and Michael Vick, who is right now the starter.
That's your prediction that Nick Foles will be the starter by week 5?
Yeah, I'm safe with that.
I was telling someone, just speaking of the Jets, I think that Mark Sanchez will be out in 6 games. Just speaking of quarterback removal.
Well, right now Sanchez isn't starting to begin with, so there's nothing really to.
Oh, is that right?
He's injured.
Yeah.
He's injured. Okay. All right. Well, for that reason. All right. You're on the clock, by the way, Yossi G. Don't want to steal your thunder. We're in round 9. If you just joined us here, Israel Sports Radio 2013 Fantasy Football Draft, and you have 35 seconds left for your pick. And Yossi.
No, I don't, because I just did it.
Okay. You took Steph. Oh, the kicker. A great kicker.
Gostowski.
Yeah, probably. If he's not the best kicker in football, he's at least top 5. And
Yeah.
Ario
And
took
I
Brandon
know
Lloyd.
Buck was talking about rookies, and Gostowski's just getting into his second year, so that's about as close to a rookie as you're going to get so far.
Okay, so good point there. So probably one of the younger players selected in this draft at this point. Bus, what are your thoughts about that pick?
At this point, you're basically picking your backup lineup, and the kicker is actually the starting position. So he's a guy that you're going to have every single week. So he's definitely points you're going to want on the board weekly rather than as a backup as your reserve team when you have bye weeks.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Deep Voice takes T.Y. Hilton out of Indianapolis, and Ari Bluestein says, good pick, Brian. What do you think about T.Y. Hilton there, Yossi G?
Well, for, like Bus is saying, for this portion of the draft, if you haven't filled up your starting, wide receivers, and if you're heading into your bench players, and that's the type of guy. He's that bubble guy for most fantasy leagues. So for a guy who can start on a weekly basis or could be the first guy coming in off the bench to, be that slot receiver or whatnot for Indy, especially with what they have with Andrew Luck, and that line gives him some time to throw and see the field. Hilton's a pretty good pick at this point.
All right, now I want to talk about some of your picks. You had Peyton Manning, which some people question because of his age. You had Demaryius Thomas, so another Denver guy. So you're hoping that Thomas and Manning together, you're counting on that to have a big year.
Well, last year I had Thomas and Manning and Decker, and that gave me solid numbers. And I'm hoping that this year with Manning and Thomas, that'll give me even better numbers.
All right, I'm on the clock right now. By the way, Andy Gersh was taking Mike Wallace out of the Miami Dolphins, and Bus had Blair Walsh. Jonah just picked Justin Tucker out of Baltimore. So I need to I need a defense. That would be good. I need a kicker.
Well, I'm wondering now. Like we're all pretty much going for our backup
stuff.
team, our reverse team, and the thing I'm wondering is I'm looking for some running backs, some receivers, but there are some teams that we just don't know who's going to be the starting running back. I think one of those cases might be in Cincinnati, where you have the rookie. I think he's a rookie, Giovanni Bernard, and you have the law firm Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. And I think I would want to pick one of those. I just don't know which one is going to start.
Now, I went with D'Angelo Williams because if Cam Newton has a good year, that means D'Angelo Williams will have a good year. So I'm kind of doing it as a defensive pick against Deep Voice. And D'Angelo last year, just over 700 yards. That's not great. 700 rushing yards. That's obviously not that good. And receiving yards, he's not really much of he doesn't really catch balls out of the backfield. He's a runner. But, at that pick, I just took him. This is the 9th round. So he, on average, is the 100th pick. I got him in the 90s. I'm not that unhappy about it. Yossi G, I want to ask you also about your decision to take Darian McFadden. Tell us about that.
Well, that was a slip of the mouse pad. I had 8 seconds left, and I went for the guy underneath McFadden, and I didn't obviously get my finger all the way to where I wanted.
Who did you want instead?
Oh, I wanted what's the guy on New England? Not Vereen, who's still available, but the guy who's actually going to be starting over there. I just don't remember his name.
At what position?
Running back?
At running back.
Ridley?
Yes, Ridley.
You went Ridley, okay. All right, but you did get the number 1 pick. You took Adrian Peterson. Any and all thoughts about taking someone else? That was a slam dunk, right?
Yeah, it was. I looked at it. I saw that I came in at the number 1 pick overall, which is good considering last year I was the last pick in the draft.
Right.
So it was nice to not really have to think about my first overall pick too much, and to put that much thought into it. So as soon as I saw that I got the number 1, it was pretty much circle and have Ariel go for number 2 and have him make whatever decision that he wanted to make.
Aaron Krolik takes Phil Dawson. And let's see here. After my pick of D'Angelo Williams, Ari Bluestein took DeMarco Murray. Aaron Krolik took Phil Dawson, as I mentioned. Effie's taking Matt Bryant out of Atlanta. He picks again and takes Antonio Brown. Right now, Aaron Krolik on the clock. We're in round number 10, pick 2.
And it seems like the kickers are flying off the shelves.
Yeah, people want to get a good kicker. Yossi G may have the best kicker in the whole draft. Do you believe that? You drafted him. You drafted you were the first person to make a kicker his pick, right?
Yeah, but also the thing with Dawson is that even though he is 38 years old and he's got a lot of miles on him because of all the times that he had to kick in Cleveland, that being said, the guy is still one of the most accurate kickers. And for me, it was a toss-up between Gostowski and Dawson, but I ended up going with I need somebody from the Patriots. Come on, seriously, at the end of the day, I got to get somebody from the Patriots. So that's what I went with. That was my decision based solely on that.
All right, I'm going to go with Janikowski. Janikowski is the only kicker in NFL history to be drafted in the first round. The talent's there. He plays for the Raiders. That kind of sucks. But, hopefully, I'm hoping they won't get a lot of touchdowns, settle for field goals, and Janikowski will have a good year. Last year, field goals, 50 yards plus, he had 6 of them. That's pretty good for a kicker. And field goals in the range where you're supposed to make it 30-39, he had 10. So I'm overall happy with that pick, and Jonah's on the clock right now. Go ahead, Bus.
Well, I wanted to just say our rookie alert is going off. Tavon Austin out of St. Louis has been drafted by Philly football. I believe he is the first rookie to be drafted in this draft. He is a wide receiver as well as a punt returner, although I don't know. Do you get credit in this league for return yards?
I think if it's a touchdown. I think it's just if it's touchdown.
Well, he's a wide receiver and return specialist, and I'm on the clock after Winner has selected Golden Tate, and Jonah's bold team selected the law firm Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Yes, who's now in Cincinnati. Yeah, who's now in Cincinnati. Now, the rest of the draft, Yossi G, are you just thinking talent, whoever's the most talent, or do you think position or need?
Well, I certainly am thinking position and need because there's going to be certain guys who I'm sure are probably not going to survive the entire season as a starter on their team. So I'm going to be certainly looking for backups. for them and talented backups for them. And I did have my eye circle on Cecil Shorts, but of course Bus took him, so there goes that. And I have to now reconfigure who my 100th and 101st pick are going to be, the last, the 10th, and the first of the 11th.
Well, you got back-to-backs. It's pretty good position because you'll get your first and your second choice, whoever you're picking right now.
Well, I certainly won't have my first choice because you took him, but yeah, I'll certainly get to my second choice and have to figure out who my third guy is going to be.
Hey, if I had back-to-back picks, I'd be pretty happy.
All right, quick correction here by Ari Bluestein. He said the first rookie selected in this draft was Eddie Lacy, running back for Green Bay by Deep Voice Bride. But what you mentioned was the second rookie picked in that draft. So
first receiver rookie, I believe.
Yeah, first receiver rookie. Deep Voice Brian goes with Vincent Brown out of San Diego. That's an interesting pick there. Yossi G, what are your thoughts about Vincent Brown going here in the 10th round?
Yeah, look, at this point, like we've all been saying, it's you just try to get the best bang for your buck right now. So with Brown going where he went, it's not a bad selection, and certainly with Ariel going with who Jesus prays to, that being Matt Prater. So that's also a pretty good way for a kicker to go at this point in time.
You're on the clock now, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Thank you very much
Sure.
for
I don't want to distract you too much, just a little bit. No, Matt. Matt Prater's a good kicker to pick. Obviously, I thought about him. I went Jadakowski because I think he has a stronger leg. I don't know. I know Matt's kicked 60-yard field goals, a bunch of times, but in the 50-yard range, I like Jadakowski. I mean, that's my feeling. Of course, the Raiders got to get him in those situations, be able to kick field goals to help their team win. Go ahead, Bus.
Well, I'm looking here at we're going for our reserve team, and I see running backs and receivers. And I'm looking at the running backs, and I see that there's 2 Jets in there, and I can't say I can endorse either of those Jets, even though probably one of them will be the starting running back this season. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get a lot of carries just because that offense has no idea what it's doing.
By the way, Yossi G's taking this clock to 13 seconds.
I'm looking at that, baby.
He's really thinking about this pick.
Especially when I'm talking to people.
Yeah, well, now you got 7 seconds.
As for wide receivers, I'm looking at a guy who used to be, would have definitely been a higher pick earlier, Kenny Britt, in earlier years. But the guy just cannot get over his leg injuries. Every year, his knees take him out of the game.
All right, Yossi G's taken Shane Vereen out of New England, and then he took Miles Austin out of Dallas. Tell us about those picks, Yossi G.
Well, Shane Vereen is a good change of pace with the running back core in New England, and Miles Austin. I was actually a little surprised to still see him on the board.
That's true.
And with that being said, opposite Des Bryant, Miles Austin certainly offers Tony Romo another very good option. So the fact that he's got legs, he can separate from his defenders, and he can get after the ball. I certainly don't see why he is still on the board, but hey, I'm here to pick him up.
All right, Ariel's on the clock right now. We're in round 11. This is the second pick, and Ariel is taking Anquan Bolden out of San Francisco. Deep Voice, very familiar with him, obviously. Big part of the Ravens championship last season. What are your thoughts about Bolden going this late in the draft? Yes, the Bus.
It's hard to tell with all these receivers that are left. You don't know which way they're going to go because you have guys that are with new quarterbacks that are not used to them. Anquan Bolden was on the Baltimore under Joe Flacco, and now he's under a totally different quarterback and Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco. We have receivers in Buffalo that I want to take that I don't know what's going to go on with them solely because I don't even know who the starting quarterback in Buffalo is going to be on opening day. I think they signed Matt Leinart, if I believe.
Really?
They had E.J. Manuel. I think he got hurt. Then they got another quarterback, and he got hurt. I'm not sure what's going on over there. There's a lot of receivers that I want to take, but I'm not sure whether they're going to be able to get used to their quarterbacks by opening day.
All right, D-Boy's Bride is taking Chris Gibbons out of St. Louis. Matty Leinart bounced out that far. He was actually going to be the quarterback before Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner did his magic. Yossi G, what are your thoughts about when you don't know who the quarterback is, about taking a wide out of that team in fantasy?
Well, you have to look at what the options are at quarterback. If you don't have a starting quarterback like the Jets do, announced at least, between Sanchez and and Geno Smith. Now, both of them have a lot to be desired in and of itself, but you have to look at what their strengths are. And Sanchez's strength is, and his weakness, obviously, is throwing the ball. Geno Smith, his strength is running the ball. So you have to look at a wide receiver who is a good blocking receiver, but also has good hands to catch the ball. So even if you don't know who the quarterback would be on that team, you still have a very good idea as to what type of receiver each quarterback will like to throw to, because, hey, for Sanchez, he likes to get rid of the ball. Well, sometimes. And for Geno Smith, he would probably appreciate somebody going and blocking for him down the field and then try to reward him by giving him the football on the next play.
Yeah, well, he kind of likes to get rid of the ball in his lineman's butt sometimes, as we've seen on ESPN over and over and over. I'm on the clock. Obviously, I got to get a defense, so why not go with Pittsburgh? It's still on the board. I'm kind of surprised in round 11 that it's on the board, so I took Pittsburgh and didn't really think too much about it there.
Well, I don't think the butt fumble was necessary to mention. Mark Sanchez does just as good a job fumbling the ball all around the field and off of many other players without having to be off somebody's rear end. He's a very good fumbler.
I got a question about that butt fumble, though. Is that still on the ESPN's
Yes.
for the worst week for 45 weeks now in a row?
Yeah, but Mark Sanchez is a very talented fumbler. You can't just give him one. He's not a one-hit wonder. He is an excellent fumbler.
Yeah, but this is the cream of the crop, cherry on the cake. I mean, this is the echelon that no other quarterback has ever gotten to, and that is running into his teammate's backside and that causing him to fumble the football. And the other team to pick it up and run back for a score.
Well, I was listening to New York radio this morning, and one play they kept mentioning over and over is when Tim Tebow went out on one play and played tight end, and Mark Sanchez threw the ball at Tim Tebow's head. And
I guess he's upset at him. I don't know.
I guess they didn't know what was going on that play either.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the whole thing. Also, when you bring up Tebow, it's I'm a big fan just because he's a nice kid. He's a good guy. And he's the type of a player that most parents have been begging for years for the NFL to produce instead of the me guy. It's the person who's all about the team, all about the players, all about just the entire positivity of the game. And he's on the outside looking in right now. Hopefully another team will pick him up and really give him the time of day, put a quarterback's coach just hot, for him, just to get him to be better and to believe in his abilities.
Now, I had on Bram Weinstein of ESPN a couple months ago. I asked him if they're going to stop showing that butt fumble, that'll be number one. He said the problem is they just can't find anything better than the butt fumble, and what they might have to do is retire it just so someone else can get number one of the worst play of the week. That's how great the butt fumble is, or bad, I should say.
That would be so sad.
It
would be a day that I would probably not shed a tear for, but certainly
feel sorry,
lower
maybe?
my head. Yes, I would lower my head for a moment of silence.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sad. All right, we're in round 12 right now. I'm on the clock, and I'm just thinking backups right now. I'm going to try to just get the best guy on the board. Go ahead, Bus and Yossi G.
Well, I mean, I'm looking for another. I'm thinking maybe I'll go quarterback, but I'm not sure. It's basically the backup, and I'm going between receiver, quarterback, and running back. And I think what I'm looking for now in a receiver is, even if he doesn't have a great quarterback, and even if he's on a crappy team, I might just take him if he's the number one receiver on that depth chart, because that just means he'll get the most looks. And there are some teams that their number one receivers are still on the board, and I think that's who I'm going to go after. And someone just drafted the guy that was next on my list, Stevie Johnson.
Well, look. Oh, that was Jonah who did Stevie Johnson. Yeah,
you could thank the Gershman family for that, for really putting a great snipe into everybody's draft afternoon or draft morning. But no, Ari, your pick, Michael Floyd, a very good pick, very solid pick. I had my eyes on him as well, lining up opposite Larry Fitz. Definitely going to get looks, one-on-one looks, and with a guy throwing the football who can be capable at times in Carson Palmer.
Right.
Certainly look for Floyd to get some selections, or as the receiver.
Yeah, they actually have someone who can throw the football to these guys, and I like, it's the same type of thing. If Larry Fitzgerald has a good year, so will Michael Floyd. So that's why I decided to pick both of them. I may start them both at the same time, but the Cardinals are going to play against a really weak opponent, so I could have very good weeks, and I could have very bad weeks if they end up both botching it or whatever. Pick just made by Yes the Bus. You went with Lance Moore in New Orleans. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, I look at it like this. Marquise Colston is definitely the top wide receiver. And I think Lance Moore is going to be the second option for Drew Brees. So that's basically all I had to think about. I have Drew Brees as my quarterback, and hopefully, even though Marquise Colston is very successful, he's very consistent, he doesn't put up explosive numbers because I think Drew Brees likes to spread the ball around. And hopefully Jimmy Graham and Marquise Colston won't have a problem sharing the ball with Lance Moore.
Yossi G, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so what are your thoughts about what Bus said about sharing the ball with Lance Moore?
No, it's definitely, I think he's spot on because, you have a guy like Drew Brees. He likes to spread it around. He likes to get the ball to as many receivers as possible, so he keeps the defense guessing. So certainly at this point in time, you pick up somebody like Moore, definitely has a very large upside.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a reason they call Drew Brees the 5,000-yard man. The guy has just, in his last 2 years, he's had over 5,000 yards. And he's had 4,000 yards over his last 7 years, and he just gets better and better every year. I'm waiting for this guy to start falling apart and go on a slump in his career, but the guy's 34 and he just gets better and better every year.
All right,
He just
Yossi.
got back his coach.
That's right. All right, Yossi G, we got to run, but thanks for being on the draft here on Israel Sports Radio. Good luck to your team, and enjoy football season. We're all happy it's back here.
Yes,
and
we are.
Yeah, it's going to be good
Thanks very
stuff.
much.
All
Guys,
right.
have a good time.
All right. Yossi G, everybody, the real sports rabbi. You can listen to his show on illinoisradio.com at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 3 in the morning here in Israel before they deal with the stuff with the clocks. Actually, we're not changing the clocks, I think, before Yom Kippur, so that's not a problem there. Go ahead, Bus.
So, I mean, we're sitting here in the 13th round of the draft, and one name that I mentioned before, anybody that's listened to my show in the past that currently is not airing on Israel Sports Radio, Bus and Tank's NFL Weekend Analysis Show, there's this guy, Kenny Britt, and he's just driving me crazy because the kid is so good. Every time I see him play, I love watching him. And the problem is that he just cannot get over these injuries. And for a guy like Kenny Britt, who is not an old guy, he's a pretty young guy, this could kill his career, these knee injuries.
Look, it's one of those things. Some guys are injury prone, as you talked about, and Kenny seems like he's one of those. And it's a shame. You see the talent, you see his skill. You know he can do some things if he could just stay healthy. It's not always his fault. Sometimes these guys take care of themselves. They just get fluke injuries. They get hit in the wrong spot. All right, on the line right now is the host last year of Israel Sports Radio's Fantasy Football Show. So this is a big honor, a big expert on fantasy football. That would be Aaron Krolik. Aaron, welcome to Israel Sports Radio's 2013 edition of Fantasy Football.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov, it's been a long time. I want to go over your team. You definitely made some interesting picks. I mean, overall, what is your assessment of the draft? Have you been surprised by a lot of things that have been going on so far?
Yeah, I mean, Houston D in the second round seemed a little bit early, even for us Israelis.
Right.
You know, Houston D seemed like a stretch there. Who else went pretty early? I think the kickers went a little bit early. You know, this draft, it's not, I noticed that the scoring format last year, of course I was runner-up last year in the Israel Sports League official league, as you already know. And I know that the league settings have been slightly changed this year. And I think the point is that last year in our league, if you remember, the quarterbacks were weighted very heavily in terms of completions and incompletions, and we were scoring crazy things. So I was, someone like me who had Drew Brees was scoring, I think, 60 or 70 points a week. And I don't know if that was Ari Blue's fault or whoever made that scoring up last year. Now, of course, the winning team was Tony Romo. He was the quarterback, and he had a good year. He threw for a lot of yards. So last year in this league, it was a quarterback-driven league. And this year, the scoring, apparently, I looked, touchdowns for quarterbacks are only worth 4 points. And that's 2 less than, what running backs and wide receivers are worth. And I also saw that we're not doing points per reception. So that automatically takes off some of the value of, some of the guys that catch balls out of the backfield and some of the bigger receivers.
Well, I mean, I think in any league, quarterbacks are going to get a very good amount of points. They're definitely going to be one of your top 3 scorers. And as far as the statistics go, I didn't set up the points. I don't know how the points were set up. I don't think Ari knows either. But
Ari doesn't. Ari Lewis definitely doesn't know.
So, I mean, from what I don't know. It's definitely going to be something we'll have to deal with. I think it's too late to change the scoring in the league, but
oh yeah.
But I think automatically, you mentioned Drew Brees. Any one of those top 5 receivers that are going to get explosive numbers are anyway going to get those points. Even if it's not as many points, those guys are going to put up so many yards and so many touchdowns that the points are just going to be crazy regardless of how you score them, the top quarterbacks.
I agree. Last year, though, in our league, were you who am I speaking to? Who is this?
Yossi the Bus Friedman.
Hey, Bus. Remember in our league last year? Remember the quarterback was like crazily weighted, though.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
I mean, it was unique. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with you this year. It's just that's just maybe one of the reasons why I didn't really reach for Drew Brees.
Yeah.
In the first round, he would have been a first. I mean, any of those studs, in my opinion, and that's the important thing I think when we talk about fantasy football and why I don't listen to any of these announcers anymore, is because every league is different. Every scoring is different, right? I mean, there is no standard league anymore. So I think you have to really look at your own point system. And, I mean, honestly, I was prepared to take Drew Brees or a quarterback today in this draft. And when I saw that the scoring system had changed a little bit, who should I take here? Who do you guys want me to take? Who's the best player on this board, Ari Lewis?
Ari's actually walked out for a second. Yeah.
Ari's taking a smoke break. I'm going to take Kyle Rudolph because what I did was I already took Gronkowski, and I figured he'll be back in a couple weeks. But I do need another tight end, and I think Rudolph is just sitting there for me, and he's like their number 1.
What's your opinion on Kenny Britt? We were talked about him a little earlier, how his injuries have really stunted his career, and it might just be the thing that he can't get over and succeed in.
No, I think well, you know what? Kenny Britt has had some on and off the field injury, or on and off the field problems, but I think we'll see this year. I think a lot of things will be said for Kenny Britt this year. Remember, he's got a pretty great supporting cast too at wide receiver. He's got Nate Washington, Kendall Wright. They have 2 pretty good running backs, Chris Johnson, Sean Green. So there's going to be he's not going to necessarily get that one-on-one coverage, because they're going to have to cover other guys. So Kenny Britt, he's not going to get double coverage, so he's going to get one-on-one covered. And Kenny Britt might be a big sleeper this year. But I don't know if I can take him right now because what do I need? I think all I need with my team is a defense and one more bench. Maybe I'll just take Kenny Britt since we're talking about it.
Can you really trust either of these quarterbacks, whether it be Jake Locker or Ryan Fitzpatrick, to get the job done and to get the ball to these receivers?
Maybe I'll take Alshon Jeffrey.
Do you really trust these quarterbacks?
I'm going to take Kenny Britt. Well, right now I just took Kenny Britt for the record. Right now we're in, round 14. This guy will probably not be playing on my team. I mean, my team is pretty stacked I have Colston on my bench. I have Ryan Matthews on my bench. Justin Blackman, I love that pick I made there, by the way. I just have to congratulate myself because Blackman, I don't have to worry about him for a couple weeks.
And who's his quarterback again?
His quarterback is Blaine Gabbert or Chad Henne. And yes, we can totally trust Bus. Have you watched any of the not that we judge preseason, but we can't go every year in fantasy football. We have memory of last season. You need to think outside the box. Who's going to be the team this year who's the guy that's going to be the Des Bryant like last year? Who's going to step up? You got to make these. People like to talk about sleepers all the time, but no one wants to go on the record and say, you know what? Yeah, I went out and I got myself Colin Kaepernick in the first round like someone did in our draft. I mean, that was a crazy pick. Probably crazier than the Houston D in the second round, to be honest with you. But that's if people want a guy, you go out and get him. We don't know what Colin Kaepernick can really do for that offense. He could be a 50-point fantasy producer because he could run for 200 yards a game. We don't know. So with Jacksonville, it's that same element, Bus. It's that same kind of listen, they weren't looking that bad last year with Cecil Shorts at the end of the year and Blackman, and then you throw in some really hot new uniforms and some really good-looking cheerleaders, and you get Maurice Jones-Drew back.
Well, it's definitely going to get those guys moving. Those new uniforms, that sense of excitement.
They didn't have a healthy MJD last year. Remember that.
Yeah, but the new uniforms, it will bring a spirit of excitement to the team.
Yes. And what about, hold on, let's talk about some of the other new excitement they have in Jacksonville. They have a new owner, and they have Denard Robinson, who is, who knows where that guy really belongs on a fantasy team. I guarantee by week 8, people will be starting Denard Robinson, the former quarterback of Michigan, because the guy makes plays, and he's electric. So I think Jacksonville is way on the up and up this year, and I'm not too concerned about who's going to throw the ball. If it's Gabbert, fine. Henne's got a gun.
So
Chad Henne has a gun.
People were tiptoeing around Stevie Johnson. What's your opinion on the quarterback situation in Buffalo?
Bad. Now that is a team that I stay away from for 2 reasons. First, they brought in this Doug Maroney guy from Syracuse, and after once again watching just a couple of the preseason games, and granted they could be saving all their stuff for the regular season, I didn't see much different team. Now, Kevin Cobb is gone. His career is basically over. Okay, he's out for the season. So that was their main pickup. In addition, they went out and they drafted this quarterback, E.J. Manuel, and he had a foot injury or a knee injury. So he's kind of out of commission. I don't even think he's starting week 1.
He was a first-round pick, right?
Right. The Bills have this guy named Jeff Tuel, Tuehl. You can look him up. He's the first non-drafted rookie or something to start an NFL game ever. That's who's starting week 1 for your Buffalo Bills. So to even talk about who's going to get Stevie Johnson the ball, that's a far worse situation than probably even the New York Jets is the Buffalo Bills. Now, once E.J. Manuel comes back, okay, he looks like he could have RG3 potential. He looks like he could be explosive in the pocket. He's got that arm. He can be, he's mobile. He's everything we look for, but he's still a rookie.
I just want to update everyone who didn't know Matt Leinart was released by the Buffalo Bills.
Definitely release.
And you just mentioned this tool is going to start the first week of the season for Buffalo.
I mean, think about that. So whoever picked up, it was a very savvy move. I don't know, Busted, if you made the play, but whoever got New England D made a very good pick in this draft because New England's first two matchups are a joke. I mean, I think they're at Buffalo or at home, and then they're at the Jets. So 2 weeks in a row, New England D gets to face the worst quarterbacks perhaps in the NFL. And that's what's important about fantasy, by the way, is knowing your matchups before you go into the draft, especially when you draft defenses. Don't jump over, like unless you want to take Seattle D, in my opinion, or maybe like a San Francisco D. Play the matchups for week one. You'll see some really scary stuff going on. I mean, these teams are really bad. But Buffalo, listen, Bus, people are taking C.J. Spiller with the number 2 pick in some leagues. I don't know how I even feel about that. I know the guy's explosive, but once again, he's got Fred Jackson there. They're going to be on third down a lot, so it's not like, unless they plan on playing C.J. Spiller until he throws up, which is what their offensive coordinator said. He said, we're going to give C.J. Spiller the ball until he throws up. Well, if he stays healthy, who knows what he could do for that team. But I am probably more down Bus on the Bills than I am on the Jags, for sure.
All right, this is my last pick. We're, of course, in the 15th round, only a few picks left. And basically, I'm just looking for a quality player. There's not a whole lot here, but I'm going to go with Sidney Rice. I think the Seahawks will have a good year. I think Russell Wilson will have a good year. So I went with Sidney Rice. Your thoughts there, Aaron Krolik?
Am I on the clock, guys?
You are. Sorry, go ahead. Your thoughts as the Bus.
All right, so I think I just need to take a defense here.
You have the second to last pick.
Right, so I need a defense. No, sir, let's talk about this right now. Let's talk about my pick and what I'm going to do here with the defense, since I'm basically going to play the matchups. I know week one, Arizona's got a great defense, as you know. They're at St. Louis. New York defense, San Diego defense, you can't play them. Houston, Atlanta defense, you can't play them. Miami, Cleveland defense, you can play them at home versus Miami. You want to know the sneaky defense, gentlemen?
Go right ahead.
I am picking them, and then you can tell me.
St. Louis. Are we going with St. Louis? No, Indianapolis.
Indy D at home, week one versus Oakland. You can't get better. Indy D at home is always a sleeper because they're just, for some reason, they perform better at home. They have a very loud fan following. It's hard to play at the Colts Stadium. And you got an Oakland team that's going in there with basically Terrell Pryor. Okay?
Yes.
And Terrell Pryor has now emerged as their only quarterback because Matt Flynn is terrible. And Ari Lewis knows that, like, last year around this time, it's so funny, we were so high on Seattle, but because they had Matt Flynn, we didn't even know the name Russell Wilson.
That's true.
That just shows,
that's right.
That just shows you, Bus, what goes on in 1 year. We can be we can try to predict everything. Jesus, there are just, you saw in the preseason with Jeremy Maclin going down and a lot of these other, some of these other studs that get injured, you get, once you start getting full contact in these regular season games, anything can happen. And then, then you're on the waiver wire and you're playing fantasy football. So I think this is a long season. Whoever wins our league has to go 16 weeks. Think about it. It's not easy. So
that's why I'm questioning. I'm questioning your pick of Rob Gronkowski.
The Rob Gronkowski pick, I agree with you. That was probably my most aggressive pick, but I think at that point in the draft, I believe Michael Vick went like 2 picks before. I think I wanted to do a quarterback, perhaps, and he wasn't there at that time. Gronkowski has the biggest upside out of any tight end next to Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, but they're saying he could be out the first 6 weeks of the season.
Correct. All right, so you stash him on the bench, but you know when he comes back, the guy can blow up. So that's why I took Kyle Rudolph, who's another number 1 tight end. You tell me. I mean, look at the tight ends that are available in this. I don't even know if Jared Cook got drafted. I would start Jared Cook over perhaps even Gronkowski. Jared Cook is going to be their featured tight end in St. Louis. They paid him a lot of money in the offseason. He's got Sam Bradford throwing to him. Jared Cook could have a huge season. Jordan Cameron on Cleveland Browns. Even Martellus Bennett. I hate to say the name on the Bears.
Well, I haven't.
One pick, Bus, one pick that I didn't know what to do with was the one was in the second round. Now, first round was easy. It was Trent Richardson and Dez. But then the second round, Forte slipped to me. And it being the Chicago and I am, because I'm looking right now at the Sears Tower from my apartment, I went Forte. Then, now this is not PPR. I mean, so I don't even know if that was a smart move. But then the next pick, I could have had Brandon Marshall. And I was thinking about it, but then I just went Reggie Bush because I just wanted to have him.
I think you could use Reggie Bush if you wanted to trade him to get I mean, I don't know whether you prefer to have 3 explosive running backs on your team rather than to have 2 a receiver to go alongside Des Bryant, but maybe you'd want to trade him.
Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb slipped in our draft big time. I mean, the Green Bay, and I think that was interesting, is that you talked about, I think you were saying in the chat how you wanted maybe Jordy Nelson. A lot of people haven't really remembered Randall Cobb. Now, Cobb is in his 3rd year. He is their number 1. He had kind of a partially torn bicep or something, so he was out of the whole preseason. But that's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, he's said on the record that he thinks Cobb could get easily over 100 receptions, easily. So the fact that Randall Cobb slipped to me in the 5th round, and I think that was like right after Andre Johnson. A lot of those top-tier receivers, after the first 6 or 7 awesome receivers, Andre Johnson, Randall Cobb, they were all there in the 5th round.
Well, he fell below even Andre Johnson and Vincent Jackson, which many people were surprised by.
Yeah, once again, though, this is not a PPR league. So a guy like Randall Cobb might not be as good as Vincent Jackson because we know Vincent Jackson relies on just the big play, kind of like the 90-yard bomb. Similar, Andre Johnson is more, he's not as, I guess he can do that as well. Cobb is more of the slot guy, but they put him everywhere. But I think it would be, once again, we're not getting points per reception, which is fine. So guys like Welker, Amendola, Cobb, Reggie Bush, Forte, Sproles, even Trent Richardson. I mean, a lot of these running backs, I think Ari Lewis made a very interesting pick, to use his word, interesting. I think Ari Lewis's pick in the first round of Alfred Morris might have been might go down as the best pick of the draft.
Wow.
I don't think we will see. Just because Ari Lewis sometimes has savvy, and I look at his fantasy team now, knowing him, and I think Ari Lewis sometimes finds a diamond in the rough. Now we know Alfred Morris is anything but a diamond in the rough. He was one of the best running backs in the league last year. But in this format of fantasy, without PPR and just relying on a running back in a real where he's just going to get fed the ball and get a ton of touchdowns, I think Alfred Morris is a really good pick by Ari Lewis.
He was actually going to be my number 2 pick, and unfortunately, I fell very late in the draft. I got screwed getting. I mean, there are people that got worse picks, but I mean, I went to number 4. If I would have had one of the top picks, I would have definitely drafted Marshawn Lynch, and then if Alfred Morris went, I would have gotten him. But it seemed like a very heavy running back first round, so I don't think he would have been around.
Well, I don't understand this because this is what all the analysts say. And I've been arguing with my friend about it, and I went a different route the other night. I'm not only in this league, I'm in several, obviously. And
America's new pastime, fantasy football.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, live. Life is so short. Just draft fantasy teams. That's my motto. Just keep drafting. Make yourself crazy. That's how you want to be on Sunday. You don't even want to watch it. You're so disgusted. That's when you know you're like in it. But the point is, we talk about this year with this running backs. Every analyst on all these shows in America, and you guys aren't even getting ESPN anymore, right?
No. Wait, Bus,
So
are you doing some trick where you're getting it?
I'm telling you, everybody is saying this
There are
year.
ways.
You got to take a running back. So there's 10 pretty much stud running backs. For whatever reason, Chris Johnson wasn't, one of them in our draft. I don't know why no one took him, but there's 10 pretty much stud running backs, and then there's Calvin Johnson. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. Every year, just like Bus said earlier, we know Breeze, Peyton Manning, Rodgers, these guys throw up such mega numbers.
Because we're in a passing league, the NFL.
Right. Why are these guys not, like 2 years ago, Brady and Breeze were the number one, and then 3 years ago, remember, everyone was drafting Michael Vick number one. I mean, there was a point when Michael Vick was the number one player in fantasy 3 years ago in that draft, and then he got injured or whatever.
Well, I
People
think
have very short – I don't understand where all of a sudden – I think the value, and it wasn't there this year, but it is in the quarterbacks, and it's just a question of where you're going to take them.
my opinion, people have been boosting the number of points you get for yards and touchdowns by running backs way over quarterbacks, because since we're in a passing league and we have quarterbacks getting 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, people see it much more impressive when these running backs manage to get this many yards and this many touchdowns when you have so many quarterbacks passing so well. That's why the running backs have been going early.
And that definitely could be a reason, or it could be more simpler, Bus, and it could be because we're all just talking. And when I say we all, when we talk about rankings in a vacuum, we're not in a vacuum. Everyone has their own league. And I think these analysts might be assuming that the quarterback touchdowns are only 4 points versus 6 points for a running back and wide receiver.
Which
now,
it should
so you
be.
have to check your own. No, so that's the point. So if in fact our league was 6 points for a touchdown, which it isn't for a quarterback, and I don't think that's what most standard leagues have. But if we did have that, of course, I think quarterbacks would be so much higher. But it's, once again, we're watching these rankings and listening to everyone's draft, but once again, we have our own rules inside our league, which only matter to us. So they can keep on saying that Drew Brees, like I said to you, like 10 minutes ago, I said I was ready to take Brees, just like you were ready to take Marshawn Lynch or Alfred Morris. I said I was going in this draft just saying, you know what, it's going to be the Israel League. And then I looked at the scoring.
Sorry, 1 second. Someone just didn't have act like you. Go ahead. Keep going, Aaron.
No, I was just saying. I just said that
because
you
of
look
the specifics.
At the scoring, it's a little bit different. You realize you don't necessarily need to reach for a quarterback, perhaps so early this year in the Israel Sports League because of the scoring.
Well,
That's it.
I'm not a statistician. I don't know all the ins and outs of the stats of this league and how everything is graded per se. But I'm looking at your pick. I'm looking at your pick at quarterback, and the man only has a 23 touchdown, 18 interception ratio. And I know he was a rookie last year, and there's only an upside to Andrew Luck. But are you not worried about him getting interceptions? Because even as a sophomore quarterback, interceptions is still something you have to watch out for.
I am, Matthew Berry on ESPN doesn't like Andrew Luck this year for whatever reason. The guy on the NFL Network, Michael Fabiano, loves him. Says he can be a top 5. I mean, the one thing about Andrew Luck is that you forget is that he had 23 touchdowns last year or whatever through the year, boss. Look how many rushing touchdowns he also had.
5 rushing
the
touchdowns.
The point is, how many?
5.
Right. That's a lot. Let's say he can easily double that. Andrew Luck is one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the NFL.
I think it's a
people
general
know that about
thing.
him is that he's huge.
I think it's a general thing.
Yeah.
The new quarterbacks, these rookies, they all can run. We look at Tannehill, RG3, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck. They all are a very Colin Kaepernick. They're all inclined to run. They're all because when you take the guys you used to look at, Brett Favre among others, Vinny Testaverde I'll bring up, there are guys that are just not meant to be running quarterbacks. And in the modern day, these guys are in such good shape that they're even if they're not built to be a running quarterback, they can still run.
Oh, right. I think, well then, I mean, right. And I'm agreeing with you. That's an inherent part of the quarterback position now is that sense of athleticism. But Andrew Luck, in my opinion, he does separate himself from the rest, and that's why he was, the first pick in the draft. And to answer your question, I mean, they went out, got Hayward Bay. They acquired Hayward Bay, so they got him another weapon on receiver. They have T.Y. Hilton, who went pretty high in our draft. So I would hope that the person who drafted T.Y. in our league is, I'm sure he's relying on Andrew Luck this year. They still have Reggie Wayne, who's probably the most underrated wide receiver in the league. No one ever talks about Reggie Wayne anymore, and yet he still produces. They went out and got Ahmad Bradshaw. He's going to help out with their running game. And they have their coach back who, survived cancer. Now, you could say, well, Aaron, this is going to be a big letdown. And it could be. But for fantasy purposes, Andrew Luck, come on. This guy is so smart. He knows. They say he knows the playbook better than a veteran, and so does RG3. RG3, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Kaepernick. These guys, there's going to be no sophomore slump. You heard it here first. How can these guys fail? They're too good. They're too good.
Okay, I agree with you.
Unless they get injured, I mean, we are seeing, it's okay. It's okay to believe that we are seeing RG3 perhaps be maybe one of the coolest quarterbacks ever. And we're going to watch him come back from an injury this year, and you're going to see RG3 do the same freaking thing he did last year. Running, pistol, diving, and everyone's going to go hysterical, and he's going to have the best year ever, just like Adrian Peterson did.
I got to tell you, last year, I don't have a lot of time to watch tons of games because I'm in law school, but whenever there was a chance to watch RG3 or Andrew Luck, and it was convenient for my time, I watched them. Even though I'm a Jet fan, if Andrew Luck or RG3 was playing, I watched their games because they were the most exciting guys.
Exciting. I agree.
And
you know what? I feel the same about Kaepernick.
I'm a little not so with Kaepernick. I'm not such a fan of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. They're a little too conservative for me as a team.
Yeah, well, that's why I love. See, and that's another good point you just brought up. Is that Indianapolis and a team like Washington? There's one thing you can say about these teams, and even Baltimore, who we all forget about. And Baltimore, by the way, could be better this year. I mean, Baltimore just got rid of all the old talent, and they drafted a ton of new talent, and they still have Torrey Smith, and they still have Ray Rice. But the point is going back to what was I going to say before Baltimore?
San Francisco?
Oh, these teams. No. Baltimore, Indy. I'm naming a couple teams for you. Baltimore, Indianapolis, and we just named Washington. These are teams that really, really run the bootleg fake well, kind of like that Seattle move with Russell Wilson, where they and it's that play action. The play action opens up the vertical game. When you have the vertical game, then RG3 just bombs it down the field, Luck bombs it down the field. That's why you love watching it. It's because of the nature of these types of offenses. And the Ravens do it not as well probably as I would say even the Redskins with Mike Shanahan, who's like the genius. And then even like the Colts, they don't even have much of a run game. It's more Andrew Luck throwing. But RG3 is so interesting to watch because every play, you don't know if they're setting up for the home run or if they're setting up for RG3 to run or if it's Alfred Morris. I really think that they are going to the Super Bowl, the Redskins. I think they're going to blow the world away. I'm not kidding.
Well, I
really do. With Pierre Garçon, they have a heart on that team. They're well coached. I think that if RG3 stays healthy, There's no reason in the NFC East why the Washington Redskins can't emerge again out of that division. You know?
Yeah, well, I'm just mentioning the draft board just closed, and already Le'Veon Bell was dropped for Julius Thomas in the league.
Okay.
So whoever has not opened up their thing, players are flying around. You better hurry up.
Exactly.
But I have to
We have a
question. I have
10-team
one.
league,
I have a
Bob.
question for you.
Yeah.
My question is, what?
And then I got to go.
Okay, last question. What is the strategy in drafting 3 quarterbacks? Or is there no strategy and it was just a mistake?
Who drafted 3 quarterbacks?
Ari Lewis drafted 3 quarterbacks, and Yossi G drafted 3 quarterbacks.
At least they're not allowed.
Well, how many did Ari Lewis take last year?
Well, I had RG3, and I think I had
Right.
3. I think I had 3 last year too.
I don't think that's. He could have taken 4.
That's true.
You know,
That would have been
I'm
bad.
happy Ari Lewis didn't take Houston. I mean, at least he doesn't have to say he took Houston D. Whoever did that should be shot.
The only thing I could see
I
is
mean,
that the only thing I could guess is that during bye week, someone's going to need a quarterback, and someone's going to get a good trade for some other position they need.
I'm gonna talk about myself one more time, and then I'll let you tell me if I did the right thing. So, in my other 12-team league, I had the second pick. Okay.
Yeah.
And I went Breeze. I just took Breeze. It turns out that no one wanted a quarterback for the entire first round or second round, and then Peyton Manning and Rodgers went. All right. So I took Breeze. All of a sudden, I started building my team. I drafted I got Breeze, Julio, Cobb, Garcon, Torrey Smith. My running backs are crap. I took Seattle D, and then I'm in the 8th round. And here's the point. I'm in the 8th round, okay? And I could use a running back, but I know that none of these guys are I don't want to draft Danny Woodhead. I don't want to draft Mark Ingram yet, who I did draft later. I know they're going to be around. I'm looking through, and I already have Drew Brees, right?
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick is available. Everyone is slipping on Colin Kaepernick. I just took him. And everyone kind of was there were mixed reactions on the chat. Oh, Krolik, my last name, Krolik, you're a dick, because I wanted him. Oh, Krolik, you're an idiot. So great. He's going to be on your bench all year because you have Breeze. Oh, Krolik, nice pick. Interesting. For me, that's a pick right there that probably saved my draft for this reason. Is because you are right, Bus. There is value in bye weeks, and there's always value in trading. People forget that you draft a team, and you usually don't end up with the same team. Everyone gets so hysterical over the draft, and, oh, my God, you took this. Listen, I'll trade. Let's just see how these guys do. It's a roulette wheel anyway. So
Well, also, I don't
the
think.
point is, what?
No,
You don't
continue.
think that I have. So I just said. So in my league, I think 3 is too much. Yes. To answer your question, 3 is ridiculous. But in my league, where I went Breeze number 1, who's usually the number 1 when we think of a guy that puts up mega points, and then for me, I saw value in Colin Kaepernick in the 8th round. Now I don't know what to do with him. Was that a bad pick? I don't know. I'll trade him. Maybe I'll trade. Now, I might not be able to trade Kaepernick for anything until he blows up. I might only be able to trade Breeze. Maybe Calvin Johnson was the pick I should have made it to and not Breeze, because Calvin's probably easier to trade,
No, but I mean, Calvin's not going to put up numbers like Drew Brees.
Exactly. That's the point.
And
That's
one
the
week,
point.
1 week can make or break your season. I had a situation
That's the point.
where I was 1 game out of the playoffs. I tied the guy ahead of me, but his points were higher. And if I would have had a guy like Drew Brees, that would have automatically given me the points to push me over the hill.
Right. Everything matters, and that's why I don't understand. In a league where we talk about losing by 1 or 2 points, and it happens to us all, maybe even 0.1. I mean, last year I lost by 0.01. I'm going to show you, but in one of my leagues last year, I lost by 1/100th of a point. Okay?
That's competitive.
Let me show it to you. I'm gonna show it to you to show that it really does exist. So in a league that comes down to like millimeters and inches, and Drew Brees is throwing up 450 fantasy points like cake every year, why aren't we taking him number one? It just doesn't make sense to me, Bus.
Well,
And I can't get my head around it. And I saw in my other league kind of how it turned out. I mean, I could have skipped Brees in the first round, went with the running back, and then I could have had Kaepernick in the 8th round. Is my team better? I don't know. I know I don't have Drew Brees then. Right?
I agree. And there was just one more point I wanted to make is that in the next 5 weeks, even less, we don't know if this is going to be the final. You mentioned trading and that our rosters probably won't be the same. It's for sure possible. I don't know if Michael Turner is going to be signed by a team. I don't know if all these guys that were dropped are going to be signed. Yep. A guy gets 800 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns, or he gets a nice amount and he gets cut. It's because the guys don't have time for him. But in a few weeks, when injuries start piling up and people aren't sure whether these guys are going to be consistent, you're going to see guys pouring into the league that we had no idea.
Awesome. You're 100. You're so yes. You're so. It's a 16-week. That's what I'm saying. We got your team for fantasy needs to be built the same way. That's why I had no fear in drafting a guy like Gronkowski. Because, yes, he might not be there, Bus, the first 5 or 6 weeks, which he might be. But, damn, he'll be there for me week 14 or 15, big time. And that's what I'm thinking. So that's how you got to think. Justin Blackmon.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of your second tight end pick. I think you should have gone higher with the second.
Okay. Listen, there's plenty of guys. There's plenty of guys with the second tight end out there. If I want to use Zach Sudfeld on New England, his brother's the Indiana quarterback, Hoosiers. I could play like once again. I could pick up Jordan Cameron. There are guys that are going to emerge in this league. You know, what about? And I'll leave you on this thought. Remember 2 years ago? You know who I picked up off? No one drafted this guy. Victor Cruz. Remember Victor Cruz 2 or 3 years ago when he first blew up? No one drafted him.
I don't think he was drafted in real life.
No, but I'm saying he wasn't even drafted in fantasy. And the guy was like the number. I mean, he had an amazing year. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. I think maybe even when I don't know if it was when they won the Super Bowl, the year before, whatever. Point is like there is so much value in this league and in teams that you don't necessarily know, like that you're going to learn a lot about because the NFL wants to make these teams want to be competitive. Don't think that a team like Jacksonville is going to go 1-15 again. They're just not. These teams switch every year. It's almost every other year. Look at the stats. Every other year there's something that goes on. I'm not saying the Lions are going to go to the Super Bowl this year, but there's a pretty good chance that the Vikings aren't going to make the playoffs like they did last year, and the Bears aren't going to go 10-6 again without Lovie Smith and Brian Urlacher, and you know what I'm saying? And I know they have a new coach, but the fact is, are the Bears really going to have a 10-6 season again? So who's going to step up? Maybe Reggie Bush and the Lions.
Well, you said
no
I don't
want
want
to talk about Aaron Rodgers because no one thinks that he has any weapons. So why is anyone even putting Aaron? No one wants to talk about Aaron Rodgers anymore.
I mean,
it's very quiet what's going on in Green Bay.
I don't want to keep you because you said you had to go.
Yeah.
But when it comes to football, he figures out how to stay on. It's great. That's how much he loves football.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. I just have to shower, and I got to go. My parents are in town.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to talk during the year. You guys are going to call me. Why don't we, Ari, we'll set up a time to get on with you and the bus. Why don't we talk? We can talk on Thursday, maybe before the Denver.
Well,
you want to talk before the Denver Ravens game, before kickoff, or if you want to get me on Sunday, I'll be, 12 o'clock if you want to get me around kickoff. I don't know what time you guys are going on air next Sunday, or if it's Rosh Hashanah or whatever.
Right. Well, Sunday might be better.
Let me know.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. Definitely would have a game. We love talking football with
Are
you.
you going to be able to watch games, by the way, online at least? Are you going to be able to stream it?
Do you know some
It's
trick,
not gonna
Bus?
be a problem.
Oh, okay. Bus knows some trick. I guess he'll tell me off air of how we're going to watch these games. Yeah, I'm very, very upset. Very upset that Tua's been.
Bus is going to figure a way to watch the games. I mean, if he has to travel over to Beirut, he'll go there.
I think he would, yeah.
I'm going to go to the Middle East MTV studio and change the channel over there so we could get our games.
With the knobs. Wait, real quick, Syria. Do you like how Obama is kind of being a pussy and saying to the United States, you know, let's see, I don't want to offend anyone, you know, before I use my power, which I can use, by the way. And, you know, I want to be humiliated like the British Prime Minister. Don't you think Obama just should have showed some balls there and just said, you know what, I don't give a shit what you people think. I'm doing this. And why would you tell them the timeline?
That part,
They
that
get
was
to
the
build
dumbest
up
part.
all their arsenal.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have a bleep reel, so we heard all of that.
That was all live. But, yeah, I know. You don't walk up. That'd be like going up to someone in a bar and say, like, okay, I'm going to punch you in 10 minutes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, what I read is the General Dempsey, whatever they call that guy, in the United States. He said to Obama, Dempsey, I think, is the guy in charge over there, and he said it doesn't matter when they attack. It doesn't really make a difference because they're going to be able to do the same things, and it's like they're as prepared as they can be in Syria, so it's not going to make a difference when the attack happens. So if we have to wait 2 weeks until Congress says some garbage and Obama attacks anyway, it won't be a big deal. Syria already has rockets on the border. They're already prepared with their anti-defensive crap. So when it comes down to it, whether we attack now or in 9 days from now, it won't make a difference.
Well, you know what I don't get is the president does not need Congress's approval for this type of thing. So why does he why does he want Congress's approval? What does he care?
Because so many guys have backed out already.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. He's just, you know what? It's cute. It's kind of cute what Obama's doing. He's kind of saying, you know what, people, it's your country. I'm a lame duck president. If this is, you know, I think we know what he would do. I think he's saying, listen, I'd go in there and kick their ass. But you know what? Public sentiment seems to be ripping on me lately, and you guys are being really dicks to me. So you know what? Let's go argue about it, and let's see really who's in favor or not in favor of it, and who the real dicks are.
Well, I see it
I'll
as
leave you on that point.
I see it as
I gotta go.
Okay.
I gotta go.
Well,
Shavua Tov.
And Shana Tova, too, because Rosh Hashanah is Wednesday.
Shana Tova, B'Yerushalayim.
Amen.
I'm outie.
Very nice. All right. Enjoy, Aaron.
Amen.
We'll speak with you
Bye,
soon.
guys.
Be well.
Well, I think this is a football show. I'm just going to end off on that one point that he mentioned. I think the point is he's getting a little nervous just because of the fact that the rest of the countries have decided to back down, and without all that support, he's thinking, hey, maybe I should follow their lead because we know how well Europe and socialism has worked over with all those countries going bankrupt. So why not take the lead of Europe on this one? And we saw how well they did at going after bin Laden. But,
they got bin Laden and only took them, what was it, we got him 10 years?
So I think when Britain, so I think not only that, England, I believe England doesn't have the death penalty or something, so they were gonna try Osama bin Laden in a court and put him in prison for life rather than putting him to death. So a lot of people were happy that America caught him and took him out. But
wow,
that's from what I've heard. So
hold on, but why could England even have the jurisdiction or the authority to arrest him? He killed Americans.
It was a war on terror of all the countries in the world. I think it was approved by maybe the United Nations or someone, I don't know, a bigger power internationally. But I think he's just nervous because all these countries are backing out, that if he has to go in alone, he's going to have the world yelling at him. And I think he just wants to be careful about that he has the support of the country and that what he's doing is what the people want. Because if you're a guy that wants this to end, you want to send guys in. I personally don't want him to attack Syria. It doesn't benefit us at all. All it's going to do is have rockets rain on us. And I'm not saying we can't defend ourselves. We have one of the best militaries in the world, and we're going to kick their asses either way. But the problem is why unnecessarily get us involved in something that's going on between two nations? One nation among themselves.
What I don't get is, so Syria's thinking is if the United States attacks them, they're going to punish the U.S. by attacking us. It's not like the United States and Israel were buddy-buddy like they once were. Like, they have a good relationship, but it's not the same. You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter in this new Arab Spring and this whole Islamic Middle East that's been grown over the past few years. We're like the only Western free power in this area, and that's why they want to attack us. And I believe there was a report last night that Syria not only plans to attack Israel, they plan to attack other American allies in Cyprus and Turkey.
Look, it's a weird situation. I don't know what's going to happen, but you think there'll be an attack at some point?
I'm not so sure at this point. When Obama took a step back, it surprised everybody, and at this point, I don't know where they're going to go from here. I know that all I could say is just be ready for anything, Anything can happen.
That's true. We're living in interesting times, to say the least. All right, well, somehow we got into politics. You never know the Eric Carl. Eric Carl goes on for about 45 minutes, and he's going to just say what he wants to say.
I don't know how much more time we have on air.
We're basically done. We had a commercial-free show, went about 2 hours. Let's just give a wrap-up of the draft for the final minutes we have here. Just give us your thoughts, what stuck out for you, what were some of your memories you took from it?
Well, I just wanted to mention one point we made before quickly.
Sure.
Aaron brought up in some leagues how you could win or lose on a matter of a quarter or a tenth of a point. And I know how that feels to some extent because last year I had a record of 8-6, and usually a winning record, 2 games over 500, should get you into the playoffs. But I was 8-6, and another team was 8-6, and unfortunately, he made it, and I did not. And it's just a good point because even the smallest amount can kill you at the end of the season. You could be on top of the world the whole season, but if you do not have a well-balanced team and you're coming out of the end of the season, you could end up getting royally screwed. But let's get to our draft.
Let's say now the minutes went off of the post team, but can we get it up now and find out and just go over really quickly who picked who? Let's see if we can.
Yeah, give me a second. Just tell me what you thought when you drafted 3 quarterbacks while I pick this up.
Well, the Michael Vick thing was a mistake, and I wanted to make up for that. Eli Manning's very solid. I mean, Eli Manning's my backup quarterback, so I feel very good about that. Eli Manning, I think, is the top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and the fact that I have him and Aaron Rodgers, I feel very, very good. If one of them gets injured, I have the other. If one of them's off and they have a bit of a slump, I have the other. If one of them's playing a team that they should annihilate, I can go with them. Michael Vick is just there. I mean, I'm happy to trade Michael Vick if someone's interested. Maybe I'll trade him Ari Bluestein. I don't know. That was just a mistake. And sometimes, it's a lot of, it's pressure, things ticking down, all these different things. You want to make the right pick. He was up high in the depth chart. He was higher than Eli Manning, of what I saw. But that was a mistake in any case. And, I didn't mean to do that.
Yahoo started this thing, and it doesn't really it matters to some extent, but overall, it basically is based off of what they think is going to happen. And that's not always true because things change all the time. And there's a reason some people strategize to do this thing or that thing or the other. And they have this new thing where they grade your draft. And I'm going to list the top drafters here.
Oh, Jesus.
Effie's winning team with an A+, Yossi G with a B, Brian's best team with a B, the Bus's team with a B, Philly football with a B, Aaron's optimal team with a B-, Jonah's bold team with a C, Ari Lewis's team with a D, Ariel's super team with a D, and Winner with a D. So fortunately, nobody got lower than a D, but Winner, who started off very strong and seemed very
bragging and boasting and all these different things.
He seemed very confident in his
said that
drafting.
we're all playing for second place.
He sort of left in the middle of the draft, so you can't blame him so much for his whole drafting grades. But
can you copy that web address and send it to me on Facebook? I'm going to tease Andy Gershman right now about that. I think that's hilarious. So Andy Gershman, with all his focus talks, and it wasn't focus, he has a last place draft according to the report cards from Yahoo. So ha ha ha. Feel good about that. Now, the first game is Thursday night. You want to make sure to set your teams before, obviously, because that's Rosh Hashanah. So keep an eye on that. And then we kick off Sunday. All that fun stuff happens. It'll be a long season. Football season, it's 16 games, but just the way it's done, it's long. It's fun. I mean, it's enjoyable. But don't, if you lose first couple weeks, whatever, don't think that you're out of it by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, one of the things I mentioned that you can't really blame Andy for his bad draft at the end of the time is if you just look at it, I'm going to say it again, I am a Jet fan, yet he drafted 2 Jets running backs after he put it on auto pick, and the fact that his last 5 picks were all running backs, he's going to probably have to fix up that team a little bit. And if you're out there, Andy, you do not have a defense.
Well, he's going to blame it.
Or a kicker.
He's going to blame it on the auto draft, I think.
Or, he does have a backup quarterback. So he has about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers and 5, 6, 7 running backs.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely going to have to trade in order to improve his position at defense and at kicker. So here we have the results here of the draft, and the one thing I have to say that surprised me most of all is the lateness that quarterbacks went. I think Tom Brady was drafted in the 7th round.
Just like in real life.
Yeah, I mean, at any position, you're going to want to get that guy early, because if you want him to be a solid part of your contributors every single week, you're going to want a guy. Even if it's a kicker, a lot of people wait till the 14th round to get them. But you know what? If he's going to put up if he's going to be a top 5 kicker or a top 5 defense, you're going to want him to give you that great amount of points and worry about your bye week later on. And the biggest thing that I mean, you could look at it 2 ways. We were talking with Aaron a second ago, and I was ragging on him for drafting Rob Gronkowski so early, because it looks like Rob Gronkowski is going to miss close to the first half, if not only the first quarter of the season. But he mentioned, when Rob comes back, he's going to be knocking people around. He's going to be at the top of his game. And with his buddy, I don't know if you'd call him his buddy, Aaron Hernandez out of the picture.
Right.
And Wes Welker going down to Miami, we're going to have a different situation in which he's going to be a very big target. And when he comes back, he's just going to, I think he'll be explosive. So that might help him. He said he had a good tight end besides for him. So good luck with that decision. I went after Jason Witten personally because I do not want to take any chances about people coming back from injuries. But the one thing we noticed compared to previous years is that the running back position is much more wanted. And I think that's because people have noticed that running backs are much more impressive than quarterbacks in the modern league, because they're built. I don't know if it's the way the quarterbacks are built, but the fact that we had 3 rookie quarterbacks last year, and did they all make the playoffs?
Yeah, Russell Wilson, RG3, Andrew Luck.
I believe they all made the playoffs.
Yeah, they all made the playoffs.
And so quarterbacks are getting less and less. I mean, what they do is impressive, but they're just trained to be so much better. Whereas running backs, with all the new, even with all this stuff going on, they're very good, and I think it's more impressive to see a running back get a huge amount of yardage, 80, 50, 40, whatever amount of yards you want to put up there, and touchdowns, than a quarterback passing the ball. Because the quarterback, when you look at it, it's a very difficult position to play, but he has so many options. The running back, once you hand the ball off to him, he has to look for the holes. He has to run around. He has to figure out where the blocking's coming from. He's going to have to do it all by himself, whereas the quarterback has many options. And I think in a lot of leagues, especially our league, we've lowered the amount of points you get for a touchdown or yardage by a quarterback, and we've raised the running back stats to a higher level because of what I just mentioned, how impressive it is to see a running back get that much yardage.
All right, folks, that comes to the end of our fantasy football special for 2013. We hope everybody enjoyed it. We hope everybody had a good time because we got 10 teams involved with the league. And the first game will be Thursday night, so set your teams before shut us so you don't have to worry about that. Yes, the Bus, you did a great job. Thank you so much. We were here for 2 hours, commercial-free, great analysis, great predictions, great picks. Good luck to you this season. Although I hope you win every game except when you play against me.
I had a great time. The time just flew by. And
Talk about football always does.
I hope we can do this next year.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done this 3 years in a row, so we'll hopefully do it every year. We'll just keep on going. It's a lot of fun. And next year, we'll see where the landscape's like. Maybe we'll have more teams. We'll have multiple leagues. Last year, we had 2 leagues, so you never know what will happen. So stay tuned for a lot of great programming here on Israel Sports Radio. Enjoy the football season, everybody. If you want to make trades, you need to start talking to people right now and get to work on that. For Yes, the Bus Friedman, I'm Ari Lewis. God bless and good night.
Go! Forces are in full flight. We're coming by air and on the ground. Monday Night Football's taking over the town. We gotta get ready. We gotta get right. It's gonna be a battle in the NFL tonight. So get ready. I mean, get ready. Are you ready? Texas football on Monday night in Vegas. Yeah, this is rockin' Randall Hand with a special alert for the nation. Here come the hits, the bangs, the blocks, and the spikes. 'Cause all my rowdy friends drop in on Monday night. Let it fly, boys.
This is our finest hour. Well, sir, this usually takes about 3 hours.
Now they're ready for action across the land. The boys in the trenches, the fans in the stands. Sounds like thunder when they snap the ball. The bat blasts through a hole in the wall. Receivers rocket on down the line. The defense covers it. Pressure time. The guys with cannons, the way they throw. ABC's got the most explosive show. Are you ready for the football? A Monday night party? Yes, sir, this is Hank, and my mission is to get this whole thing started. Get those helmets flashing, the crowd is sight, 'cause all my rowdy friends are back for Monday night. Yes, everybody is there.